What's up and welcome back to Bar Down Talking Hockey, episode number 57, presented by the Barroom Network. It is the home of your soon-to-be completed 2021-22 National Hockey League season. My name is Vinnie Parise, and I'm very excited that the Chicago White Sox finally have a lead of more than one run. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he's finally representing the Bar Down Talking Hockey podcast wearing one of his hats. Frank, where's Joey?
I don't know. I was going to ask you that question.
So for those who are watching, wondering where Mr. JP himself is, he'll be here. He will be here. He's going to probably pop in around the 20-minute mark is my guess. I'll actually be able to hear when he arrives back at the crib and hops in the podcast, and yeah, he'll be here. Not that anybody really actually wants to hear his takes, right? Like, people don't give a shit that he's not here.
I mean, you said it, not me.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Joey will join in a minute. Until then, we'll talk about whatever we talk about. By the time he gets here, he'll chime in once he gets here. But before we get going on the task at hand, which includes talking about the National Hockey League, yesterday was National Pretzel Day. You like pretzels?
I do. I noticed that it was National Pretzel Day, but I didn't jump on the opportunity to go get one.
So, Auntie Anne's, no free ads, gave away a free pretzel yesterday, I believe.
Auntie Anne's, a lot of places that sell pretzels gave away free pretzels.
Yeah. You know who sells pretzels? Sonic. You ever had a Sonic pretzel?
I don't. I've never have.
I think you would probably like it. I think my favorite pretzels in the world probably belong to Auntie Anne's. But you know what? I've been enjoying like people who make homemade pretzels. Like, I think those are the best pretzels you can get.
Remember we tried to make a homemade pretzel?
Yeah, and they were awesome.
That by Tony's?
Yeah, and they were good.
It was good. I mean, I've had better, but it's definitely a skill to make pretzels.
It is a skill. It's a certain way of boiling the dough or something along those lines. It's an interesting creation. The pretzel.
I thought it was going to be really easy to make when I saw it, but it's easier said than done.
No doubt about it. What's your favorite kind of pretzel? What's your, like, Frankie Mueller gets to choose how he's preparing to eat his pretzel. What do you got?
I just want a regular pretzel with cheese. Now, if I want to get a little spicy, not literally, but if I want to just, flare up the pretzel game a little bit, if I go to Auntie Anne's, a nice cinnamon pretzel would be great. Love cinnamon pretzels. But generally, if I'm going to like a baseball game or I just want to chill in the summer, sit by the pool and eat some sort of pretzel, I want it just a regular salted pretzel and a cup of cheese.
There you go. I actually love a good pretzel with cheese. I'm with you on that. That would be my number one choice. I like making like a homemade cheese. Like, I've made some really good homemade cheese sauces that just go outstanding with pretzels. But yeah, the traditional nacho cheese that you get at a ballpark with a nice salted pretzel is just outstanding. I love me a cinnamon sugar pretzel. There's no doubt about it. When you go to Auntie Anne's, though, they have a unique flavor there that it's a chip flavor, but when you think about it with a pretzel, it might not sound as appealing, but a sour cream and onion pretzel from Auntie Anne's is just outstanding. It is so good. I think you would really like it. It's not spicy.
No, I love sour cream and onion, like the sour cream and onion lays. I think on a pretzel would be pretty good.
But at Auntie Anne's, they powder the shit out of it with this sour cream and onion. Yeah, it's really good. I think that's my flavor of choice at Auntie Anne's, believe it or not.
Do you like pretzels that aren't like warm pretzels, like a soft pretzel? Like, do you like pretzels like to snack on?
Oh,
like in a bag?
Fine. They're fine.
I'm
Like chip
I'm a big
pretzels.
sourdough pretzel guy. I prefer
Ooh.
sourdough pretzels like in the bag rather
Yeah.
than just your normal pretzels that you snack on. Like if you get the
Okay.
big, like this big, or like little sourdough pretzels, like
Yeah.
mini real pretzels, but they're hard. Those are
Yeah.
really good.
Those are outstanding. My favorite pretzels are soft pretzels. But like pretzel chips, they're okay. They're always that thing on the table that I don't actually want, but I'll eat 50 of them.
You'll snack
Like,
on them if they're available to you at a party or something.
yeah, absolutely. So, but I've been asked, I haven't gotten to try it yet. They have at Guaranteed Rate Field the bratwurst, which Guaranteed Rate Field bratwurst are phenomenal. They wrap them in pretzels now, and it's like a almost like a corn dog
Hmm.
type of deal where it's like it's wrapped on there hot. Oh, I haven't gotten to try it yet. They were out by the fifth inning on opening day, and then the second game I went to, I had a rainbow cone. That was the new thing I tried. And yesterday was just too damn cold to get up from my seat more than once. So it was, I haven't tried it yet, but I will try it soon. I probably next game that I go to, I will be trying the pretzel bratwurst. So I really like pretzels. You know, when you crush a good warm pretzel with some cheese, there's not much better.
Did you
I
get a free
really
one
like it.
yesterday?
No, I did not. I didn't make my way. Yesterday was kind of a crazy day. I woke up, wrote Cubs stuff, White Sox stuff, got Bears draft analysis done, and then went to the White Sox game.
You know,
And it was
Scox
over.
makes a very good point in the chat. He says, like a pretzel dog at Annie Ann's. Oh yeah, you get those, you get that hot dog wrapped in the pretzels, kind of like what you were describing with the brats. Oh, those are so good.
I haven't had one from Auntie Anne's.
Oh,
I've had a pretzel dog. I
so
have
good.
had a pretzel dog. Really good. How do you feel about a good pretzel bun for like a burger?
Oh, I love it.
Me
I mean,
too. And
if I have choices at a restaurant, the go-to is brioche or pretzel. I'm never
you know,
just gonna get a normal bun.
I agree with that. I would rather brioche or pretzel over
Yeah.
like your standard white bread. I completely agree. And when I was younger, I was out on the pretzel bun. I hated it.
That's
It's not
crazy.
that I hated it. It just didn't. It didn't fit sandwiches well for me. Like I'd rather eat it plain. But over time, I'm like,
And you have to have salt.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, when
Come
we're
on.
talking pretzels or gas station snacks
If you
or
don't want salt, then I'm not gonna eat a pretzel. I'll get a different snack.
yeah, health not in consideration. Calories aren't counted in our conversations on Bar Down Talking Hockey.
Yeah.
Bar Down Talking Snacks is it's for the cheat days. There's no doubt about it. We do have a task at hand, though. I must say
Make
the
pretzels?
the pretzel analysis is really good. There's
Go
no
buy
doubt that
pretzels.
me and you know a thing or two about our pretzel game
Eat pretzels.
and how to discuss them. We know how to eat them exactly.
No, you said we have a
Um,
task on hand, so I was gonna make pretzels, go buy pretzels, eat pretzels.
oh, well, our task at hand is to talk about the National Hockey League. That's where we make the
Oh,
big
is that
bucks.
what we're doing here?
Yeah.
I forgot about
So
that.
I know our pretzel analysis is people probably agree with us more on our pretzel opinions than our hockey opinions. But you know, we got to talk about hockey.
Oh yeah,
So
that
we are
is.
going to do that in period number 1. Welcome to period 1, where instead of talking about delicious warm snacks, we're going to be talking about the exact opposite of delicious warm snacks. We're going to be talking about mean, cold-hearted hockey. And by the time you tune in to Bar Down Talking Hockey next, it will be the Stanley Cup playoffs. Does that scare you, excite you? What does that mean to you?
Kind of saddens me in a way because my team's not going to be there, and
Same.
the end of the regular season's here. It kind of sucks. It means I can't watch any more Blackhawks games, but at the same time, it excites me because we're going to get some good entertainment out of these playoffs.
The playoffs are going to be outstanding. Both of our favorite teams are done. The Devils play. They got 2 more. They conclude Friday against Detroit. We'll talk about them in a minute, but your Blackhawks have actually had kind of since the whole Pat Foley thing, they've had an interesting little bit. They oddly let Lucas Reichel break 10 games and then sent him down. They burned a year of his contract, sent him down. Haven't seen him since.
Yeah, it's wild.
Who else was it that? Oh, I believe they burned Alex Vlasic's first year as well. And that just makes no sense. I know they haven't sent him down. That just makes no sense to me. I don't understand why they needed to play in those games beyond 9-10 the season. It just makes no sense in my brain.
Do you ever
You
think
called it. I give you credit for calling it. There's no doubt that you were right and I was wrong on the actual fact of it. The only thing I'm not changing is my opinion that it's stupid.
Do you ever like? I'm just for the sake of argument because I don't understand why they would burn it either. But I could sit here and come up with many reasons on why they would, just so we could like debate about it. But do you ever think that maybe they did it in a way to be like, is this guy going to be really that good? I want to see like what he's made of. So let's see how he does here over more than 10 games. And then if he stinks, like, oh, well, that doesn't matter. But now we know what we get it. Now next year we could kind of build around it. Like, oh, we know his play style. We know how he's going to play with Seth Jones. You know, if Alex Vlasic's going to play on the same line as Jones, we like the way he plays. So then they could use the information they get this year and kind of use it next year or the year follows. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. The only thing is they're 20. So what are you expecting from them now that isn't going to be improved over the years either? That's kind of my counter argument to that. It's like, well, if you're going to base Alex Vlasic's future on how he plays on the 29 or the 27, 42, and 11 Blackhawks that have only won 3 of their last 10 games, you're going to use how Alex Vlasic played in that situation to evaluate his future. It just makes no sense to me. Letting him make his NHL debut and scoring his first goal and all that stuff, I'm down with that. I can get jiggy with that. It just doesn't make much sense to me. Now, if they were a playoff team and like they believe that Vlasic can really help them in a bottom pair role, playing with someone, even if they put him on the second line with someone like Connor Murphy, or seeing what he's made of with someone like Seth Jones, as you mentioned, I'm cool with that. Like when the Bruins burned McAvoy's year to play in the post, like they lost to Ottawa that year, but I think McAvoy came into next season better for it because they went to the playoffs. And no offense to Vlasic or anybody else that gets their contract burned on a non-playoff team, McAvoy is like a generational defenseman. Like McAvoy if I could take one young under 25 defenseman, take them off the team that they're currently on and pluck them on the Devils right now, it would be McAvoy, even more than Makar or anybody else, simply because McAvoy, he has all of his competition, like statistically, 62% of his ice time, I think it was against players that you would consider elite competition, where Makar's was only in the high 30s.
Wow.
So like the Avalanche do a good job of getting the most out of Makar in situational, like they play chess. McAvoy, they're like, yeah, you're not going to have as many points as Cale Makar because you're going to go out there and face Sidney Crosby. Oh, McDavid's on the ice, McAvoy, let's go. So it's a different situation. But with Vlasic and Reichel, especially the defenseman, I can kind of understand a little more, I think, than the forward, because defensemen take a long time. All defensemen, except for the McAvoys and the Makars, like the top quality young D that are taken within the first 5 picks of the draft, I would say all of them suck to start their careers. Like they just do. Defensemen are bad early. It's the hardest position to develop. So if you want Vlasic to play as much as possible I get that. But Reichel, he so clearly belonged in the NHL that there wasn't much more that I needed to know before next season with him.
Yeah,
so
I mean, the whole thing with Vlasic too, like you said, he got his first NHL goal. He got that against the Coyotes. He just hasn't done much this year. I want to see more from him. He's played in 13 games, and I think he's a -3 and has 9 shots on goal. So, like, when he's out there on the ice, I mean, nothing's happening, which I guess is good because the purpose of him being out on the ice is to play defense. So if he's only a -3 in 13 games, I mean, they're not scoring that much when he's out there, but he's not chipping in enough. He's not producing as much offensively as I would like to see him produce. Like, you can't just have 1 point in 13 games and be a -3 and 9 shots. You're averaging less than a shot a game. Like, I know you're out there to play defense, but come on now. At least chip it a little more.
And that's why I understand from Vlasic's point of view, playing him and burning the contract like a little more than a forward. With
Mhm.
Reichel, it's like, okay, he wasn't scoring like a top, but next year he's proven that he can play with a cane. He's proven that he can play on a fourth line. He can play anywhere up and down the lineup. So like, why burn that extra year? You know what you got in him at 20. Next year when he's 21, burn the hell out of the contract. We'll see you next year, son. Go help Rockford clinch the playoff spot. And yeah, I don't know. But you had to be pretty excited seeing Alex Vlasic score his first career NHL goal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anytime they're playing for my team and I get to see somebody's dream come true and they score their first ever NHL goal, I love it. I was happy for the guy, absolutely. I started calling him Dill Pickle because of Vlasic. I called his brother, Mark Edward. They're related, right? They're brothers? Cousins. I called him growing up Pickles. And I'm like, what am I going to call this guy? So I'll call him Dill Pickle or Bread and Butter Pickle. But yeah, I don't know. I like him. I just want to see a little more offense from him. Even if that's not his game, you got to chip in a little bit. At least get the puck to the net, because you never know if you get the puck to the net, anything could happen. So you got to do something here.
Dill pickles, bread and butter pickles, sweet pickles. Rank them.
I hate every pickle. I will rank them all the same. Last.
You hate every pickle.
I hate pickles with a passion.
You really are a child. How do you hate pickles?
Dude, they're just so gross.
You hate America?
I can't get them down.
You don't like pickles, any of them?
No. I've not even fried pickles. Like I just can't do it.
Fried pickles are.
I just can't do
Mount Rushmore appetizer.
Pickles stink.
You stink. Pickles are outstanding. Okay, so for a pickle fans ranking, I think I would go dill, sweet. I won't eat bread and butter. They're dead last. Bread and butter pickles are gross.
Why
But
not?
sweet pickles, I like relish. And then dill pickles, like on a burger or a sandwich. I feel bad for people who don't like pickles. I feel bad for people who don't like tomatoes either.
A pickle is just a pickled cucumber, right?
Yeah.
It's a cucumber that's pickled.
Meaning
it's gone bad. Like it's pickled. No. Why do I want to eat bad food? That's like people who eat blue cheese. That's moldy cheese.
That's like saying eating pickled jalapenos is gross. But like,
I don't like pickled jalapenos.
No, but like you don't like spicy food. But
I do like spicy food to an extent.
Pickled jalapenos are better than like a straight up jalapeno, like the actual pepper.
See, Aldo agrees with me.
I'm stunned. Polish dill pickles are underrated. I've never had a Polish dill pickle,
especially the really thick pickles. Like, who wants to just bite into a big pickle?
Me.
No.
Me.
It's
absolutely. So pickles are outstanding.
It's actually a benefit when like people eat around me when I get like a pickle at my order, because then they get a free pickle.
And I love people like you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you want my pickle? Yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, I hope you don't like pickles anytime soon. You never know though; you might change.
I know.
I was talking about this with Dylan yesterday. When I was a kid, if you asked me to rank mustard, ketchup, and mayo, if you asked me to rank them, my ranking without question would be mustard, ketchup, 50 feet of crap, and then mayo. Now, it is literally flipped. It's mayo number 1, ketchup number 2, mustard number 3. I like mustard. There's no 50 feet of crap anymore. But, yeah. Oh, yeah. Your taste buds change.
I'm going to go ketchup, mayo, mustard. I love all 3.
I love all 3, too. But I used to love mustard more. I might have mustarded myself out.
I'm surprised that's changed. Normally, when you get older, you start to like mustard a little more.
Yeah, I know.
I'm surprised it's like at the bottom now.
Yeah, I was like a kid that loved mustard. I think that was part of the problem. I played baseball.
Maybe you had too much of it.
I played baseball for 15 years, though. You got to remember how many times did I eat a hot dog with mustard?
Exactly. So maybe you got tired of it.
Tired of it, yeah. It's maybe in 10 years I'll miss it again and I'll start going.
And that happens with a lot of foods I eat. Like there's foods I like that I don't really want to eat all the time. So you know what bothers me sometimes? Let me tell you what bothers me. Okay, It's when somebody goes up to you and offers you something to eat. Like, Vin, do you want some Doritos? No, I don't want any Doritos. Oh, you don't like these Doritos? No, well, just because I don't want them doesn't mean I don't like them. You know what I mean? Like, do you want mustard on your hot dog? No, I don't want any mustard on your hot dog. Oh, you don't like mustard? No, I like mustard, but just because I don't want it on my hot dog right now doesn't mean I don't like it.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot. Trust me. I've
Yeah.
grown up like that a lot. It happens a ton.
100%. I think it's an Italian thing, but you know, if you don't want mustard on your hot dog, that means you want the French's headquarters to explode.
Yeah, I don't understand. It's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
just because I don't want something doesn't mean I don't like it.
Exactly. You know what's hilarious about this though? This all started because of talking about Alex Vlasic and his cousin Mark Edward Vlasic was a very good player for the San Jose Sharks for a long time. He's kind of an older player now. Yeah, the people want to know what the hell's wrong with you, but you know they've been wondering that for a while. I really enjoyed seeing Vlasic score his first career NHL goal, and then 2 days later he played against Mark Edward again. He played his cousin twice in a span of a week, the Pat Foley game, and then a week later in San Jose. So it was cool to see. Another Blackhawks player that I wanted to talk about that I don't know if this guy could lead to a food conversation, but he could definitely lead to a conversation about your favorite pets. Fun fact, Alex DeBrincat hates cats. That's like a fact. He does.
Do you know what his dog's name is?
No.
It's the Bring Dog. It's Ralph the Bring Dog.
That's hilarious. Even though his last name isn't DeBrincat, it's DeBrincat.
Yeah,
but they call him the
Dog.
Cat. Yeah,
isn't that funny? I don't know. I thought that was funny.
2 days ago, he scored his 41st goal of the season, which ties his career high.
Oh yeah.
And if you score 40 goals or more in the National Hockey, well, let's put it this way: if you score 20 goals in the National Hockey League, you're a very good player. Okay, lots of guys want to score 20. You're like a third or fourth liner if you score 15 or less. If you score 20, you are just a good NHL player, a solid middle six guy. Unless you have like 50 assists, then you're like a top line. Like Nico Hischier will never score many more than 20, but he'll play elite defense and have 60 assists. Like, you know, Patrick Kane was like that for a long time until he started shooting it more. But you're a good, we'll talk just goal scorers, not overall player. You're a good goal scorer if you score 20. I would say you're an elite goal scorer if you score 30. Okay. You are one of the top goal scorers in the NHL if you hit the 30 goal plateau. Now we start talking 40. If you're 40, then you're starting to get into the mix of players that are amongst the best goal scorers in the National Hockey League. 50, I've only seen Kreider, Draisaitl, Matthews, Ovechkin, and Stamkos do it in my watching hockey time. Those are the only guys that have ever hit 50. 60. We'll talk about somebody reaching 60 in a little bit, but I've only seen Austin Matthews and Steven Stamkos do it in my time, and Alexander Ovechkin. All three of them are the only ones that. So 60 is like you're a freak. 50 is you're still also kind of a freak, just a little less of a freak, and then 40 is where you start talking about like the S tier goal scorers, like realistically. Because I think Ovechkin's going to break Gretzky's goal record, and I think Matthews is going to break Ovechkin's record one day. I did. And so those guys out of the conversation. DeBrincat scoring 41 is outstanding. And he's the best pure goal scorer on the Chicago Blackhawks. I think he'd score 40 on any team. Patrick Kane helps, sure. That one-timer that he had against, who was their most recent game? Oh, the Philadelphia Flyers. He scored his 41st. It was off of a sick saucer pass by Patrick Kane. But there's a reason that Patrick Kane has only had one line mate score 40. Because DeBrincat is able to take those passes that Patrick Kane creates for him, the saucer pass, and one time it perfectly past the goalie. Frank, I love this guy. I don't know he's going to finish his whole career with the Chicago Blackhawks. I just think it's logistically something to consider for them because of his age, like being kind of like close to his prime. But he's probably the guy with the most value on the team right now. And so I'm curious to know about him, but what are your reaction to him scoring that many? And do you think he'll break his career high?
Well, he's going to break his career high, I think. He needs one more in 2 games. So I would say he is going to. He's going to get one out of these next 2 games. 41 ties his career high, and he's an amazing goal scorer. I love this kid. I think the Hawks would be fools to get rid of him. And I'll tell you why here in a couple minutes. Last year, don't forget, DeBrincat had 32 goals in 52 games. He was on pace to get 40 for the 3rd time, which would have been this year would have been the 3rd time if he would have got it last year. If they played 82 games, you're telling me he wouldn't have got 8 goals in 32 games or in 30 games? He probably would have gotten 40 last year. But right now he's currently on a $19.2 million contract, I believe, which is 6.4 average a year. It expires after next season. I believe a contract extension is coming. They'd be fools to let him go. And Kane made some interesting comments about the Blackhawks team, which kind of makes me believe that Kane's here for the long haul, and he's going to, and like we said in recent past, whatever Kane wants to do, I think has major influence on the organization. He might want to bring in DeBrincat and say, hey, bud, stay here. He did make a comment, I don't have it written down, about that he loves to be with DeBrincat and having DeBrincat on the team. But something he did say is, and this is a quote of his, he goes, for me, it's more about just having a good summer and getting myself back to the level I know I can be at and help this team out more next year than I believe I did this year. Kane also called the rebuild all rumors and noise. Not rumors, but just all noise. And that he doesn't pay much attention to. And how this team could still win in a rebuild if done correctly. And he alluded to the Kings and Rangers as examples of doing so. And that's something we have said too. And he also said there are pieces on this team that may surprise people.
I agree. I don't like using the Kings or the Rangers as like sources on what, like,
but
say
he's
Bruins
saying
or the
because
Penguins.
he's saying because they're in the playoffs, like they were able to rebuild on the fly and make the playoffs.
But
He's
they
saying,
didn't rebuild on the fly.
yeah, well, I don't know. That's what he said. I don't know what you want me to say.
I'm saying yeah.
Don't shoot the messenger.
I'm not making fun of you. I'm making fun of Kane.
And I mean,
rebuild on the fly.
But the way he's saying is that they feel like they could win on the fly and get to that success level sooner rather than later. And based on all the comments I read to you, it sounds like he wants to say with Chicago. He mentions being here next year. He says he wants to help this team out next year more than he did this year. So just based on those comments, it seems like he wants to say, I think he'd pull in DeBrincat. And to me, if Kane stays, he'd probably get Taves to stay too. But, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, you can't have everything your way, but I don't know. That's where my stance is on it. I would like to see them give this guy an extension because they'd be foolish to let him go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Parise.
What's up, everybody? How we doing?
How's it going, man?
Good. Just listening. I didn't want to interrupt Frankie, so I kind of just waited for him to finish his thought on that.
Yeah,
Frankie, and I get what he's saying.
Right.
Not to just to jump in, I'll just jump right in. I get 100% what he's saying. I do think the Rangers kind of have rebuilt on the fly.
How?
They were Eastern Conference champions in 2014, and now they're back to competing for their division.
Count on your fingers how many years ago 2014 was.
I get that. How many years did they miss the playoffs?
At least
and
5, 4.
Were they dead last? Were they in full rebuild mode?
They won the lottery and came in second.
I don't know. I don't see that as a full-on rebuild as much as what I see the Hawks. I wouldn't consider it a full-on.
They traded McDonough, JT Miller, Lundqvist retired, Girardi retired, St. Louis retired. They rebuilt. All their best players were gone. They rebuilt.
And some of their best players now are acquired, not homegrown.
They traded
pretty much all of their best players right now are acquired.
I'm not saying they're the best at developing, but they traded a veteran Brassard for a second-year player named Mika Zibanejad. They traded for, did they draft? Yeah, they traded for Dylan Strome. They traded Jesper Fast.
Ryan Strome.
Or what did I say, Dylan? Ryan Strome. I'm trying to think, who did they trade to Edmonton? It was a 1-for-1. They traded all the players that helped them win this conference. or be high in the Metropolitan for all those years. They were gone. They were traded for assets. They drafted Lafreniere. They drafted Kako. They signed Panarin when they were finally ready to start winning a little bit. It was probably a year early, but
the Rangers are
be a free agent the next summer. So
I would say the Rangers are an in between a rebuild and a rebuild on the fly.
The team's rebuild.
The team is rebuilt, but they did it in a fashion that's not your traditional rebuild where you're like.
And I think that's what Kane is saying, that the Hawks could do it if done correctly. They could
rebuild on the fly. And you mentioned the Bruins, the Penguins, those teams rebuilt on the fly. You got Jake Gensel
on the fly.
Jake Gensel's a bona fide 40 consistent goal scorer now. The Bruins missed 2 years of the playoffs, and now they got one of the best defensemen in the league in Charlie McAvoy. It's like that's rebuilding on the fly. I mean, you got to get lucky to rebuild on the fly.
The Kings took advantage of a year and a half of Doughty being terrible, and they didn't trade Kopitar. I don't think it's just full on not a rebuild
and a resurgence in like Dustin Brown's game. Like he kind of like was ass, and then now he's back to he's not as good as he was, but he kind of came back in the fold a little bit. Especially at the beginning of this season, Dustin Brown was an effective player for them.
Yeah, Dustin Brown is pretty good. Is he? I want to say he's the oldest player, but they came in second for the lottery. Okay, like they rebuilt, and the Hawks came in third, but they moved up 12 spots to do so.
What have I missed? What have you talked about?
Well, all this was a conversation that came from talking about Alex DeBrincat, and he only has 1 year left on his deal. He made comments that kind of implied that he knows he could be traded, but he would sign an extension if presented to him. But he also made a comment about how Kyle Davidson probably has a lot on his plate, so he understands if his contract is the last thing on his mind right now. So, he kind of like danced around the fact that, he could be traded, but he wants to stay. But he also made comments about it being extremely frustrating that he now has 3 30-goal seasons, a 29-goal season, and he probably would have 3 40-goal seasons had it not been for COVID-19 shortening last year. He made some comments about it being kind of crappy that he hasn't played in the postseason as a professional yet, and that it's like weighed on him and he hates it. And so, there's a lot to read into his comments. And then Patrick Kane's comments kind of, as Frankie said, kind of suggest that him and DeBrincat want to be back or should be back, and that he believed they can win. I disagree with Kane because of the other roster flaws that this team has. They don't have a goalie. I mean, you start and end there. Seth Jones and Connor Murphy are the only 2 defensemen that I trust long term. Now, I'm hoping that Ian Mitchell can come in and be reliable long term. I'm hoping Alex Vlasic can come in and but that's kind of where we were at with that conversation, Joe.
Gotcha. They just need to send me season tickets because with me in attendance, they are an absolute wagon. I'll tell you that right now. They were. I was there on Monday. It was the only game in the NHL. They were zipping the puck around. I know the Flyers stink, and I was kind of explaining that to the person I was with. But like it was a completely different team. If they would have played like that, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. Like the puck movement from the Hawks that game, Jonathan Toews looked awesome. You mentioned DeBrincat. Honestly, like that was a fun game to go to.
Okay, and the next topic at hand with the Blackhawks was talking about Jonathan Toews. He's had a big week so far. He had a goal and an assist in that game. I would say he led them to victory over the Philadelphia Flyers. There's something about that orange jersey that just makes Jonathan Toews absolutely angry and pissed off. You might remember he was the Conn Smythe Trophy winner as the most valuable player of the playoffs in 2010 when the Chicago Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup for the first time in 49 years. These could be his last 2 games he's ever going to play, Joe, or play with the Hawks, play in general. There's a lot of question marks surrounding Toews. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I don't know if the organization kind of sees that and recognizes it. There was a lot of Jonathan Toews, tribute stuff on the Jumbotron on Monday that you necessarily didn't see at home. Like it was, I don't know if it was like Jonathan Toews' night, but like he was being honored all game long. He ended up, I think he was the first star, but he gave a speech to the fans and pretty much thanked them after the game. I know that wasn't their last home game. Tonight is, but it was weird. He thanked the fans for their continued support, and the crowd was actually like, it wasn't the most filled crowd, but they were loud. They were getting into it, and he just gave a shout out to them for all they've been through this year. He literally said it hasn't been a good year. It's been a tough year, but he appreciates them sticking around and cheering them on. So I don't know if if he knows that he's not going to stay with this team. I personally don't think he is. I think tonight will be his last home game at the United Center, but that remains to be seen. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what he decides to do, if he chooses to retire, or if he goes to another team, I'm always going to love the guy. He's my favorite player in the NHL. That's not going to change no matter what he decides to do. He's been on a fire lately. He's got 6 points in his past 5 games. I love to see him getting hot. Unfortunately, he's getting hot at the wrong time. These games don't really mean anything. I'm going to definitely take in tonight's game very differently than any other game he's played in, just in case this is his final game with the Hawks. I hope it's not, obviously, because I love seeing him play for the Blackhawks. But yeah, whatever he decides to do, I'm gonna have to support his decision.
Yeah. Taves, he's a top 5 Blackhawk ever. You can argue he's on the team's Mount Rushmore all time. I think it's without question a top 5 of Duncan Keith, Patrick Kane, Stan Mikita, Bobby Hall, and Jonathan Taves. I think it's a big week. Is this their last game?
This is their last home game. They play Buffalo.
I thought they had one more against Buffalo. Yeah.
On Friday.
So, he's been Mr. Everything. He never had 100 points. Never had 50 goals or anything like that. But I think there was a point where if you asked somebody who the best player in the NHL was, they would say Sidney Crosby. And then if you said who's the second best player in the NHL, I think it was up for debate. Evgeny Malkin was in the mix. Jonathan Toews was in the mix. Patrick Kane proved to have a slightly better career, I would say, in terms of his offensive production and being such a prolific scorer. But Jonathan Toews, he led the way for a long time. So if this is his last game at the United Center, take it in, enjoy it.
Chance to play. It's a big game. Chance to play spoiler to the Vegas Golden Knights. I know Vegas needs to win. We'll talk about that later, but Vegas needs to win these 2 games, and Dallas needs to lose these 2 games for Vegas to get in. But, I mean, the Hawks can put an end to Vegas' hopes tonight by just winning.
And how lucky is that scheduling?
That Dallas played.
Well, they played them last night, and now they each play again tonight.
Yeah. To me, Dallas, obviously the fate's in their own hands, but, like, the hockey gods don't want Dallas to be in the playoffs if they don't make the playoffs, because they're playing Arizona tonight and Anaheim on Friday. So Dallas has quite the easier of the 2 schedules.
I hope they both win tonight and it comes down to Friday.
Dallas just needs a point. They don't even have to win.
Exactly.
Yeah. I hope they both win tonight.
No, I hope the Hawks win.
Or no. I hope Vegas wins tonight and Dallas loses tonight and it goes to Friday.
Yeah, that's what you would need to happen.
I want that. Yeah, that's what I want. But it'd be kind of funny to see the Hawks play spoiler. Haven't they only beaten Vegas once too? Aren't they like just horrid against the Golden Knights all time?
Maybe twice. They beat them once in the playoffs. Now.
I don't know. I've never seen Vegas. I've never seen Vegas. And
they lost the series.
They lost the series 4-1.
Yeah.
I will be in attendance tonight, and I've never seen Vegas, so it should be a good game. I'm hoping it's a good game.
That's going to be sick. I'm excited for that. Joe, your Bruins. They're sick.
My Bruins. Just when they start to make you worry, they figure it out. They were, I believe they lost. I can pull it up real quick here, but a couple weeks ago in that stretch, the stretch without David Pastrnak and I keep wanting to call him Par Lindholm from the old Bruin, the last Lindholm that was on the Bruins, but not Hampus Lindholm and David Pastrnak both went out with an injury on the same game on April 5th, and then since then they went 1, 2, 3, 4. They won 4 games. Okay. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is not Bruins hockey. 4-4. That's not the way they've been playing. You know, if you're a 500 team in today's NHL, you're not making the playoffs. All 8 Eastern Conference teams have over 100 points. That's the first time I've ever seen that, I believe. You need to play better than 500 hockey. Then all of a sudden these guys come back, and it's like, holy shit, we were worried for nothing. They're all of a sudden pumping out shots. They still have not scored a power play goal, longest since the expansion without a power play goal. That's probably the most concerning thing if you're a Bruins fan. I believe they're 0 for 35 right now in consecutive power plays, 0 for 34, something like that. Consecutive 13 games without a power play goal. Like I said, the longest drought since that 67 expansion for the Bruins. So that's concerning, but, you know, is it a good time to – I'd rather it be cold now than in the playoffs. Hopefully they can figure it out with these last 2 games. Brad Marchand hasn't scored in his past 13 games until yesterday. All smiles on the bench when he got an empty net goal. He was smiling. He was laughing about it. So you're hoping that that's the opening to the floodgates for Brad Marchand getting off the schneid. And to top it off, yesterday in their second to last home game, as we're seeing with a lot of teams, they go ahead and take down the best team in the league. I'll go ahead and say it. I think the Florida Panthers are the best team in the league. They went into the TD Garden yesterday, and they didn't know what to do. The Bruins played nearly perfect hockey. They finished with 30-plus shots on goal. They held Florida to around 20 shots, I believe, or something like that. They had Bobrovsky figured out where they were playing, and that's all without a power play. They didn't score any on the power play. They let up a goal with 0.6 seconds left in the final minute of the first period. That's a common concern for the Bruins fans, is that they're giving up goals in the final minute. But honestly, like with all of these concerns, and they're still winning games, the Bruins are on the right track. I haven't been more amped for the playoffs in the past few years, but other than this, this Bruins team is legit right now, and they're doing it with some things that they need to fix, and that I believe will get fixed.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I like the Bruins. I think the way that they handled the Florida Panthers with relative ease yesterday speaks volumes about them. Carolina Hurricanes are almost a foregone conclusion as their playoff opponent. Am I correct?
No, I was, you know, who knows how Tampa won yesterday, 4-1.
Tampa versus Leafs is a lock, I believe.
How is that a lock? The Bruins are 3 points behind the Lightning, and there's two games remaining on each side. If the Bruins win tomorrow and Friday, and the Lightning don't
That's
get
right.
4
The
points,
Lightning needed a point.
yeah,
They're going to get a point.
I don't know. I mean, you want to say most likely, but you never know.
All right, but when I say it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that they're going to play the Carolina Hurricanes, gotta feel kind of good, no?
If I'm a Bruins fan,
Yeah, well, you are one.
no, I'm saying for Bruins fans.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm never an advocate of picking your poison. Whoever they line up against is who they line up against. And frankly, I don't know if I'd rather be happy about that. The Bruins have not beaten the Carolina Hurricanes all year. They've scored 1 goal on them in 3 games and got outscored 16-1 against the Carolina Hurricanes this year.
All right, well, I'll say it. The Devils have smoked the Carolina Hurricanes this year, and they blow. So I think the Bruins I don't trust Carolina's goaltending.
I think come
they're one of the
playoff
elite
time
teams in the East. They are one of the elite teams in the East. I think they're the 3rd best team in the East. I would go Panthers. I'll put them 4th. I would go Panthers, Bruins, Leafs, Hurricanes. Hurricanes don't have goaltending, though. There are teams below them with better goaltending. Jari's better than anybody Carolina has. Shesterkin's better than anybody Carolina has. I think Vitek Vanacek and what's the other guy? Samsonov are better than anybody Carolina has. So I don't know. I like that matchup for the Bees.
I do, because I know from experience that playoffs are a different game. It doesn't matter how they matched up in the regular season, and I get that. But, you know, it's always lingering in the back of your head that you only scored 1 goal in 3 games and got outscored 16-1. That's just always lingering in the back of your head when you play the Carolina Hurricanes now. So until I see, you know, the playoff matchup, but like, look at last year. Well, I don't know, was it last year? Or I know for a fact in 2019 in the Eastern Conference Finals when they played Carolina, they swept them. And that regular season, I'm pretty sure the Carolina Hurricanes dominated the Bruins just like they did this year. Yeah. So playoffs are a completely different game. That, yes, but when you're a fan, you don't think about that shit. You just get nervous that my team sucks against this team.
Yeah, I agree. Frank, you look like you had something to say.
It's just the Bruins. They've proved that they can contend with just about anybody in the NHL. They beat the Panthers. And some of the recent wins include the Rangers, Pittsburgh, St. Louis. I mean, they're beating top teams. And consistency is something I've talked about with the Bruins all season. If they're not consistent in the playoffs, then they're going to have a rough time with the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't know if the inexperience for playoff experience for Allmark and Swayman will play a factor into it. Because like you said, playoffs are a different game. They don't have playoff experience. So, I mean, you never know what could happen there. I think the Hurricanes are a tough matchup for the Bruins. The Hurricanes have dominated the Bruins all year. But we'll have to see. Because when they're on their game, they could beat anybody in the NHL.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you make a good point. Linus Allmark and Jeremy Swayman both have 0 combined playoff appearances. But that's where you just hope, like, goaltending is goaltending. If the guys are on, the guys are on. What I like is that, not to saying you're happy when your team loses, but guys like Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carlo, Matt Grzelcyk, not so much Hampus Lindholm. He's so new, but he's fitting in so nice. You kind of appreciate that experience, that pain I went through these past 3 years or so of them getting eliminated on such heartbreaking, series. Like, the expectation was so high for this team. And then all of a sudden you got these second round exits, first round exits. It's like, okay, but how can Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carl, how have they grown from that? And that'll be something that, I think will come into play this year.
I think goaltending is the only position in sports that their playoff experience doesn't help you. I don't think it does, because all that remains for goalies, no matter what, there's no systems, all that matters for the goalie is stopping the puck. It's the same in the regular season as it is in the NHL. How pucks get on goal is different. It's a harder game to play for the forwards and the defensemen, but the goalies just got to see.
Yeah, but what if they're in their head and they're a little nervous? It's their first playoff game.
Okay, that is an argument I'll accept.
That's what I'm basically getting at here.
Yeah. Nerves can cloud your ability for sure.
Another thing, that playoffs, a big difference between playoffs and regular season, and you see it in the regular season, but it gets talked about a lot more in the playoffs, and that's, that home ice advantage with the head coaching. I saw it a lot yesterday. Like, I think reason the Bruins handled the Panthers so well and they kind of controlled a lot of pace of that game was Bruce Cassidy's, like, approach to the way he was dealing with line changes. Like, there was one shift, Bergeron, Marchand, and DeBrusk were out there, and DeBrusk had a hell of a game for a star. There was one shift where they were out there. Then all of a sudden the Hall line comes on, and then mid-shift they switch out They switched out Marchand and Bergeron hopped out there. Pasta stayed out there, so we had like a little 30-second shift on the rush with Pasta out there with Marchand and Bergeron, and then all of a sudden there was a face-off, and then they throw out the third line, and it's like little things like that. Like, I literally saw Bergeron and Marchand take a shift with the DeBrusk, get off, and then hop back on literally 30 seconds later and take another shift. Like, it didn't go in your tradition, and they just played the Panthers so well. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that from the head coaching standpoint. And that's half the battle in playoffs is those matchups.
And I think I shared a text with you a little while ago about McAvoy, and I think that's something that kind of goes to what you say about him. He plays almost half the game against elite competition, where and he's playing at a 62-point pace doing so, where guys like Cale Makar are in the 80s and Yossi in the 80s, but they don't even play a third of the game against elite competition. Cale Makar spends 35% of his ice time against elite competition. Victor Hedman, 34%. Roman Yossi, 28%. McAvoy plays 41%. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot. So
it seemed like he was out there all game yesterday, and they're the home team, so they get a good say in who's out there versus the Florida Panthers top guys, especially on faceoffs and stuff. Every time Huberdeau and Barkov would try to get something going, it seemed like McAvoy was right there. And Hampus Lindholm might be one of the greatest acquisitions that Don Sweeney has made in his tenure as the general manager. So it's unreal.
Absolutely. Bruins are going to be good. Excited for them in the playoffs. This is the last week of the season for my New Jersey Devils. I know neither of you care.
Right. I'm in the same boat as you, so I
got hats. I got hats to pass around to everybody.
Oh, Bruins hats. Oh, I was like,
Bruins hat.
he get us a prize? He didn't get us no prize,
Yeah,
Frank.
you guys can rep some.
I kind of knew what he meant.
Yeah. Do you have a Bruins hat, Frank?
No, not yet.
You said that's so sad.
Well, you never know.
I got a couple. I got a couple. I got about 30 different Bruins hats. I would love to spare one if that meant if you promised me you'd wear it around.
I'd wear about any team. I think.
There you go.
This is close to a Bruins. I have Bruins hats too, but this is a good Bruins colored hat. I'm pretty sure that's the reason that your Joey Does Dessert logo is Bruins colors, right? Was that like the kind of purchase there?
There's some subconscious
He just likes the color scheme.
Subconscious, bias toward my liking of colors. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I threw on a Hawks hat. I figured you guys would like that.
The Devils. It's going to be interesting to see how their offseason works. It's going to be about getting Jack Hughes ready to go for the start of next season. I don't believe we'll see Luke Hughes. He will go back to Michigan, but we will see next year Alexander Holtz. Nolan Foote scored 2 goals yesterday. Did you see that? Nolan Foote scored 2 goals in his season debut yesterday against the Ottawa Senators, and Riley Walsh got his first career point in his NHL debut, assisting on the first Foote goal. So, Frank, I ask you, if Foote scores 2 goals, does he become Feet?
No, that was really good actually, but no, he's still a Foot.
All right, I believe Foote can score 20 in the NHL. We'll see. His shot's unreal.
If the announcer doesn't say we got a set of feet after his second goal of the game, he's
not going to say
it.
Funny. If I was an announcer, I'd say something like that.
I have a lot of faith in some of these guys. Every player that the Devils have called up from Utica, who's the best team in the AHL, they've all been sick, and they're considered to have like a top 5 farm. So maybe the Devils will be better than people realize next year. If Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt and Sharon Govich keep it up, Sharon Govich scored his 24th goal of the season last year, and he had 3 on December 1st.
And if Dougie plays like he did before the jaw injury.
Yeah, exactly. And I love Ryan Graves. Blackwood came back yesterday and played well, except for 2 goals that he gave up were muffins. So if he can figure that out, maybe he can get back to the Blackwood that I thought he was. We'll see. But having him back and healthy is a good sign. He started this year injured. So we'll see what happens with him. But I'm a little more excited about this team than I was a couple weeks ago. There's no doubt. I like seeing Alexander Holtz score as often as he does in Utica. Joe, didn't Pasternak score a crap ton with Providence too? Wasn't he like a guy like that? Like
he only played in Providence for, I believe, half a season. He was drafted in 2014. He comes along. He's playing in Providence. You're just hearing about David Pasternak. This kid's unreal. Then he comes up, and then he's productive, playing on the third line with Brian Spooner. Then he starts playing with Milan Lucic and David Krejci a little bit, and then he breaks his foot, if I remember correctly, and that kind of set back David Pasternak's NHL emergence. And ever since he came back from the foot injury, it was a different Pasta, and it's been Pasta time since. But it took there was an injury there that kind of set him back a little bit, but played a little bit in Providence.
Yeah, I think the difference between the Bruins and the Devils is the Bruins are good. There was no point to have Alexander Holtz called up this year and burn his first year of his entry-level deal. And 7th overall pick, I'm excited. Next year, he could really score a crap ton of goals. And I love Sharon Govich. Second time getting to 20. And last year, he didn't even have a full season. Or no, he might have been in the high teens last year, but he was like on a 20-something goal pace. He's a really good player. So, and Jesper Bratt, the season that he's had, 70 points, he sure will get his 60th point either tonight or not tonight, Thursday or Friday. I hope. And he's at a 0.85 points per game. So it's like a 78-point pace over a full season. COVID and one little injury knocked him out for a couple of games. So he'll be in the 60s instead of 70s. But, I'm excited about this team. We'll see where they go. Next year, people are going to have a little patience with them next year, I think. They should probably try to have a good year, I think. That's going to be important.
I think during the offseason, they should focus on their goaltending a lot. I think that's their biggest flaw right now.
Yeah, and isn't that weird to say? the team that had Broder and Schneider for so long all of a sudden have this like major goaltending problem.
Before the season started, I said that they were going to be a bubble team, and I think if they had good goaltending, they would have been a bubble team for sure.
Oh, I think so too. Well,
and I don't think Blackwood's the answer at all.
They have the worst save percentage in the NHL, but they have a better goals per game than most playoff teams. So if you insert, like, they have a better goals per game than the Rangers, but if they had Shesterkin, they'd be competing in the Metropolitan Division. I wholeheartedly do believe that.
I believe it too. I
don't believe they're a goalie away. They need more help. They need more forward. Like,
yeah, but they'd be a bubble team.
I think so too.
And that was my thought going into the season. I thought that they would get a little more out of Blackwood, but Blackwood hasn't been the Blackwood you guys have thought he would be, and I don't think he's the answer. I think it's time to go out and look for somebody or develop a new goaltender or something. I think that's. Trust me, I think if they had better goaltending, they would be a different Devils team.
I agree. The only reason I'm hesitant to agree with you on Blackwood is because he hurt his ankle in training camp, and he's played the entire season hurt. He should not have played at any point until he was healthy. And maybe if he would have gotten back in January, maybe things just would have been different. But, it really sucks. You know what I just saw for the first time this season? A balk. Jose Ruiz balked.
In what game?
White Sox versus Royals.
What's the score of that game?
It's 3-2 White Sox, but now there's a runner on third because Ruiz balked.
3-2? I thought it was 3-0. I just walked in and it was 3-2.
What the fuck?
The Royals had a big inning in the sixth. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what goes on with the Devils. We'll see if Blackwood can play healthy next year. I mean, like I've said on this show 1,000 times, he was one of Canada's 6 guys for the Olympics that they were considering. And he was just so hurt. The ankle was so messed up. And then he kind of got a bad rap with the whole COVID vaccine thing, too. He wasn't going to be able to play like a couple games early in the season in Canada. And I don't know. He got vaccinated, so it's not an issue anymore. But we'll see what happens with that next year. So those are our 3 teams that we talked about. We talked about those 3 teams and pretzels and pickles.
Yeah,
I missed. Yeah, wait. Re-ask it.
No,
the pickles really wasn't asked. It was just
the pickles came out of nowhere.
Alex Vlasic. So
but the pretzels. All right, Joe. I'll get you real quick. Sweet pickles, dill pickles, bread and butter pickles. Rank them.
Dill, sweet, bread and butter.
Where did I rank them?
Frankie said all 3 are trash because pickles are trash.
I was asking Joey.
That's what I'm saying.
I was asking Joey where did he think I ranked them.
I would have never guessed that. You're not a pickle guy?
Oh, no.
He hates them.
And Aldo agrees with me.
I love pickles. But Vinny will agree with this. I don't care how he ranks the other 2. It's dill pickles, then 50 feet, and then the other 2, regardless of how. There's dill. You don't beat a dill pickle.
I think there's a significant gap between 1 and 2, but I think there's an even bigger gap between 2 and 3.
No, I disagree.
I'd eat bread and butter pickles are disgusting.
I would eat them. I don't like them on like a burger though. I don't like the taste of it, but I would eat them plain.
Bread and butter pickles are nasty. All right,
fried pickles.
What's your favorite way to eat like a soft pretzel?
Salt and cheese.
Yep, us too. We all agree on
salt
that.
And cheese. Extra salt. I'm guilty of this when I was like a little kid, especially like after baseball. You get the salted pretzel and you wipe the salt off. You used to do that. I used to when I was a kid. Now I want extra salt. I love pretzel salt.
That's wild, Jay.
Sometimes you flip over new leaves. Taste buds evolve. I'm the biggest, living proof that taste buds evolve because now I like everything.
We talked about kind of our taste buds evolving because Vinny says now out of mayo, mustard, and ketchup, mustard's on his bottom now, but it was near the top or at the top when he was younger.
Yeah, he was a weird kid who loved mustard.
Which I said normally it's the opposite. Where it would be like mustard's at the bottom, and then you get older, it's like near the top. I like mustard.
Love mustard.
I like all three, but it's the least favorite of the three.
Me too. I agree. And you probably got my 1 and 2 flipped. You go ketchup,
Yeah.
mayo. I could eat a whole jug of mayo. I could
Me
dip
too.
pickles in mayo and take a
Yep.
bite.
Yep. Me
And
too.
I'm the weird one.
You are correct, sir. So, with that, we would like to send you to period number 2. Welcome to period 2, where we're going to be talking about the rest of the National Hockey League besides those 3 teams that we just discussed for an hour, even though I'm sure Joey will find plenty of way to slip in some comments about the Bees. We kind of slightly touched on it a little bit. Last night, the Dallas Stars were defeated in a shootout by the Vegas Golden Knights. Each team got a point, so that made Vegas really gasping for breath as they are one. Their tragic number is now 1. Any combination of a point won or lost by the Dallas Stars and Vegas Golden Knights will eliminate Vegas from postseason contention. Each of them has 2 games left. Dallas has to lose both in regulation. Vegas has to win them both, guys.
And
Frank, Vegas is cooked.
Wait, you had it backwards. Dallas won in the shootout. I think you said Vegas won in the shootout.
Yeah, I meant to say, Dallas won in the shootout.
You know, that game last night, it was a pretty good game for both teams.
Oh, yeah.
Both teams had over 30 shots at least. Each team had more than 30 shots. The thing that sucks, and I love the Knights, and they're my second favorite team in the league. They had a lead twice in that game, and they ended up losing. And that's a key situation. It's one of the key games that I had on their schedule that I mentioned the past couple of weeks. You had the lead twice in a must-win. It is like a must-win. And you choked both times, and then you lose in the shootout. On top of it, you give the Dallas Stars a point, which is a heartbreaker. You had the chance to win it twice in regulation, let alone lose it in a shootout. I think the outcome of that game was the worst case scenario. Well, no, if they lost in regulation, I guess that would have been pretty bad.
They would have been eliminated.
Yeah. So, but losing in a shootout's the second worst case scenario. I mean, because you lost the game. A game you had the lead in, but not only that, you gave the Dallas Stars an additional point on top of everything. Even if you would have won it in the shootout, it still would have been a heartbreaker because you're giving Dallas that extra point. I think will be the first time in franchise history that the Vegas Golden Knights are going to miss the playoffs. Just like I said, there's too much musts for Vegas that I'm going to have to side here and say that Dallas is going to end up making the playoffs because, I mean, you're banking on them not getting a point, and you have to win both your games. It's not likely to happen, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
Joseph?
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. You know, the Dallas Stars, they got this in the bag. They got the strength of schedule. They're finishing, tonight at home. They're a very good home team. You saw it yesterday. Robertson just puts the team on his back. And then you play at home tonight against Arizona, who just played last night as well with travel. Then they play at home against Anaheim. Like, they're just playing some not great teams who don't have much to play for at home, whereas the Vegas Golden Knights are, they had to travel Dallas yesterday. They lose that heartbreaker in a shootout. Now you got to travel to Chicago today, and then I'm drawing a blank on who they play on Friday. But there is a Vegas Golden Knights game with travel on Friday. So it's just the cards are going all toward Dallas Stars. It would be a miracle that the Dallas
Unless
Stars
this is another situation like the Steelers. When everybody thought the Steelers had no chance of making the playoffs, the Colts were home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars were 15.5-point underdogs. The unthinkable happened. And look what happened. I mean, you never say never. Did you see the line on the Dallas game? It's outrageous. It's like minus 480 or something. Something ridiculous.
Yeah, yesterday, real quick, I looked it up. It's St. Louis, so no walk in the park on Friday. They have to make their way over to St. Louis. Yesterday, the Coyotes were playing the Wild, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest line. The game was 0-0.
Wasn't it 650?
I saw it at 750. The Dallas or the Minnesota Wild were minus 750 in a 0-0 game with 10 minutes left in the first. It was like plus 500 for the Arizona Coyotes money line. So what does Jay do? He throws in a liver. he takes I just played it safe, very safe. I got the Coyotes plus 2.5 at minus 120.
Didn't they win?
They won outright.
That's why in hockey a line should never be that high.
If I ever see a line that big, we talked about it earlier this year. If a line is ever that big, take the dog plus 2.5 goals.
Yeah, you're still getting good value on it.
You're getting good value, and there's no guarantee that a team is going to win by 3 goals in the NHL. That's a joke. So I was a little, very happy. Bees were playing good. 3-2 scores going to the third period. I parlayed it with the Bruins scoring next in their game. So it was a very long parlay. It hit. So
Jay's got cojones.
I got cojones. But yeah, when the line is that outrageous, but I agree with the line. Dallas is going to win tonight against Arizona in Dallas. So
there you go. It was an interesting game. I'm excited to see what shakes out. I think Vegas is cooked. Dallas will be the 8th seed in the Western Conference, and they will not reach 100 points, which is something that no team making the playoffs. Joey clearly didn't read the notes before because he ruined it earlier. I'm just kidding. Every single team for the first time in NHL history made it to the playoffs from a conference with 100 points. Joe, that's your conference. We've talked about whether or not we like that over the course of this show, and I don't at all. I hate how much of a gap it was and that the conference was taken care of in February. It was just awful. And it became fun with the seedings. I'm excited to see who, Florida ends up playing between Washington and Pittsburgh, who the Bruins end up playing between Carolina and Toronto. I don't know how to feel about it. Joe, what do you think?
It's different for me because my team is there in the thick of it. You look at this year as a whole, and you take pride in when your team hits that 50 win mark. Something Bruce Cassidy has done, I believe, two or three times now since he became the head coach, and that's not an easy thing to do. So you take pride in it in terms of that, but you look at the entire Eastern Conference playoff picture, and it seems like every team is there. So I liked it. I liked it because I didn't have to have that worry. I was not worried that the Bruins are gonna miss the playoffs pretty much at all this year, because I knew even in October, they started off kind of mediocre, but they started to find their game, and then by Thanksgiving, with your guys' stupid little stat about 70% of the teams making it, I believe the Bruins weren't in a playoff spot, is what you said, Ben, last time we talked about it.
The stat is right. 70% of the teams that were in a playoff spot on Thanksgiving are making it to the postseason. I don't understand what is so hard for you to grasp about this stupid stat.
So anyway, I was never worried about it, even though the stat told me that my team is not going to make it.
That's not what the stat says. The stat says that out of all the teams that miss the playoffs or that are not in a playoff spot on Thanksgiving, only 30% of them have a chance to make the playoffs, which they did.
So, if you tell me my team has a 30% chance to make the playoffs, I don't like that, but guess what? It was wrong.
No, I didn't say the Bruins have a 30% chance. 30% of the teams not in the playoffs on Thanksgiving will make it to the playoffs. Meaning, what is that, 1 or 2?
Exactly. And my argument against that is no shit.
Okay.
Anyway. So it's been good from my point of view that I never had to worry about the Bruins not making the playoffs, because even when Columbus got hot, they were still 15 points out of the Bees. While the New York Islanders kind of made a climb here, but they started off their season not being able to win and play a home game. So things kind of worked out in terms of that, but I don't want to say it takes less away from my team hitting that 50 win mark, because every team who made the playoffs hit that 50 win mark. It's nice when the Bruins hit 51 wins a couple years ago and they were fighting for the President's Trophy, or they did win the President's Trophy in 2019 or something like that. I don't know, but it's cool. I like it. I'm happy. My team's in the playoffs.
Frank?
It's kind of jaw-dropping that each team in the playoffs in the East has 100 points. I actually noticed it before I read the sheet that was sent over. I was skimming through the standings. I'm like, oh, I'm going to mention this if he doesn't. And then I saw it. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Right now, the Islanders are 9th in the East with 82 points. There's an 18-point gap. Are we close to a record, or is that a record for the biggest gap between bubble teams?
I don't know if it's the biggest gap, but it's the first time since 8 teams started making it that all 8 got 100. That is.
I'd have to say it's the biggest gap. That's a huge gap. We're talking about
It's a
9
big gap.
wins for a
I would say it is
a
because
bubble team.
every year that I've been watching hockey, it's like there are teams that miss the playoffs with the final game of the season.
Yeah.
Or the final couple games of the season, last week of the season.
9,
Like in the
18
West,
points.
like what's going on in the Western Conference.
Yeah, that's
Vancouver was
horrible.
just eliminated. Vancouver
That's
even
horrible.
was just eliminated.
I'm going to go out and say that's a record.
There you go.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
I mean, I'm shocked.
I hate it.
Keep
I
in
don't
mind-
hate that every team got 100. I hate that they were all clinched in February. The only
way every team gets 100 is by everyone clinching that early, because that means there's a clear line of good teams and bad teams.
I agree, and I think the New York Islanders are playoff worthy, but the bad start it cooked them. You can't make the playoffs in April, or in October, but you can miss them, and they missed them. So it's gonna be wild to see what the Islanders are like next year. I think they're gonna be great. I really do.
Probably
I
good
think they're
value
going
on
to
them
be
being a playoff
great.
team.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then we'll see what happens in the summer to determine who would be the team to fall out. Like, will the New York Rangers take a step back if Shesterkin isn't, a Vezina winner? That's possible. I think eventually the Capitals and the Penguins are going to fall off. Well, how good the Bruins are depends on Bergeron and Marchand's prime, but they have young guys taking over to at least keep them in the mix for the playoffs. I'm trying to think of who else could be bad. I don't think Carolina's going anywhere. Florida's certainly not Tampa, but Tampa, they got a 100-point season from Stamkos for the first time ever. And Kucherov was hurt a fair amount. I don't think they're really going anywhere. Toronto's not going anywhere. And speaking of Toronto, for the first time in over a decade, we have a player that has reached the 60-goal mark. Austin Matthews, guys, in my opinion, clinched the Hart Trophy. And he has the opportunity, in my opinion, and I know yesterday McDavid had a great game too against the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's almost like he shows up extra knowing he's playing against Sidney Crosby. I think he is the most skilled player in the NHL, but right now there is nobody I would rather have on my team than number 34 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Frank, what are your thoughts on this?
He was always my pick for the Hart winner. I never changed my mind anytime you asked me. I always said Austin Matthews. It's clear as day. I mean, it's just the proof is in the pudding. You could see it, 60 goals in 73 games. He does spectacular, right? But the problem I have, and I know people are going to get annoyed from me being repetitive over this, but can he do this in the playoffs? Can he? You look at last year, he had 1 goal in the playoffs. The year before, 2 goals in the playoffs. That's part of the reason because they can't get past the first round. I mean, yeah, I great player. I want him I'd take him on the Blackhawks. Vin, you would take him on the Devils. Joe, I don't know about you. You'd probably say you wouldn't want him on the Bruins.
I would take him on the Bees.
I didn't know if you had something against
I have nothing
him.
against Pablo. I think the world of him.
But it's just like
that is not
great.
true.
It's great for the regular season, but come on now.
That is not true.
If
I'm not letting Joey get away with that.
You
said you don't like Austin Matthews on this show. I don't like him. He plays for my rival. Has come out of your mouth on this show, which is fine. Just don't say you have no problem with Pablo.
I never said I don't like him.
You have every problem with Pablo.
I never said I don't like him.
Yes, you did.
I don't like when he scores against my team. Do I want the Bruins to jump the Lightning so they can play against him and shut him down and prove that team stinks? Yes, that's what I want.
The Leafs
I
will beat Tampa.
I want the Bruins to play the Leafs in the first round.
This is the year for the Leafs. I'm all in on it.
If they don't win this year, the first round, I'm out on the Leafs thinking they're good. I don't care if Matthews has 150 goals next year. I will think they stink. They need to do something. If they don't get past the first round, I think I'm out on the Leafs.
What if they lose to Tampa in overtime of Game 7?
Huh?
What if they lose to Tampa in overtime of Game 7?
I'm out.
That's crazy talk.
No one can convince me.
Especially, and if Matthews doesn't score once in the playoffs, He had one last year, but if he even gets one or none, he needs to do more. It's a team game, but he's need to step up. He needs to step up.
I agree.
You're a 60 goal scorer, Vin. You said there's something wrong with you if you get like 60 goals, like you're on a different level. You're weird. If you're a 60 goal scorer, you got to step up to the plate here. And
I
lead this
agree.
team.
It's harder to score in the playoffs. There is no doubt about that.
But if
Not
he's
going to
as
be
good
goal
as
per
people
game
are
in the
saying,
playoffs. He will not
Matthews is
score
great.
5 goals in the first round. No shot.
No, I'm not saying to score 5 goals.
That's what a 60-goal pace is, though. 5 out of every 7 games.
Get more than
That's
one.
like a 60-goal pace.
Get more than one in a 7-game series.
Matthews needs to do what he needs to do in the playoffs to help his team win. If that's score a big goal, yeah.
Get points too.
He's outstanding defensively. He's way better than McDavid defensively. It's not even close.
To me, if it went to 6 games and Matthews had 1 goal and 2 assists, it was a bust. He had a bust playoff first round.
Yes,
I don't care about the goal per game pace. I would say he needs to score, and you're off
at least 3 goals.
You got to get your team with a series lead early. He's the guy that scores the goals for that team. I don't care about the goal per game pace. These are the games that matter, and we'll see if he does it. And no one's going to convince me until I see those handshakes that the Toronto Maple Leafs have any chance to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in a playoff series.
All right. Well, when they're up 3-0, the Leafs, Joey's going to go reverse sweep.
Would that surprise me? Would that surprise me as a non-Leafs fan? Nope, not one bit. Would not surprise me one bit that the defending Stanley Cup champions just won 4 straight games against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I would not be surprised. There'd be no jaw dropping here. I would not be surprised one bit.
I mean, it'd be a Leafs thing to do. It would add to history.
I want them to win so bad. I will root for the Bruins over them. I'm not that much against Joey, but I'm against Joey enough where unless they're playing the Bruins, even if it's the Panthers, and the sake of me nailing a preseason prediction for the first time. Like, when is your preseason prediction ever win the Cup? If the Panthers did that, that would be pretty cool. Like,
speaking of the Panthers, I'm a little bummed the Capitals can't catch the Bruins, and the Bruins can't take care of the Panthers in the first round.
Oh, stop. You wouldn't want that. You would not want that. Just stop yourself. If you take them on in the Eastern Conference Finals and feel good about it, sure. But your ass should be praying.
Why let them get hot?
You're
Why let them get hot?
Want the Bruins. You're a clown if you don't want the Bruins to go to the Metropolitan Division for the playoffs.
Why let them get hot? The Panthers are going to dust the Washington Capitals.
Okay, and then you get one of the Leafs or the Lightning in the second round. You'd rather that than one of the Penguins or Capitals? Or Penguins or Rangers, excuse me?
I don't know. Hey, the Penguins don't look like a fun team to play in a 7-game series from my point of view.
Edmonton just played with their food yesterday. The goaltending hasn't been the same since the All-Star break. Unless Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, I'm not that high on the Penguins right now. I know I am usually. It's one of my teams that I like to watch. But I might even pick the Rangers against them. I don't know. I haven't decided on that series at all yet. But the Bruins, you want them to go to the Metropolitan Division in the playoffs, I think.
We'll see. We will see. Fun time
I think
of
you
year.
agree too. You're scared to pick your poison, as you said earlier, but there's no way you'd rather have to go through the Atlantic.
If I could pick my poison, I want the Leafs in the first round. That's if I could pick my poison. I don't pick my poison. I don't believe in that, bad juju or whatever. But if I could pick my poison, I was forced to. Like, hey, you got to pick someone to play right now. I would choose to play the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I cannot believe that. That is just that's just disrespectful. You're using shit that has happened 5 years ago to. There were probably dumbass teams in 2016 too that thought the same thing about the Chicago Cubs. I'll believe it when I see it. Until then, they're the Chicago Cubs. Even though Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez were all negative 20 years old when half of these stories about them were told and happened. And
that's not why I want.
Chris Bryant's grandfather wasn't even born when the Billy Goat was the thing, but we're still going to use that to judge him. No.
That's not why I want. I think the Bruins playing the Leafs brings out the best in the Bruins. I think they can beat the Leafs.
That's why the Leafs have lost so much. Every team they lose to is just slightly better than them. It's not an indictment on them.
So if every team is slightly better,
they lose to, if every team is every time.
If
every
every
expect
team
them to win.
Yeah, if every team is just slightly better and you use that as an excuse, but they
No, I
lost.
don't
Look who
think
they
that
lost.
this year. No, I don't think that this year. They might prove me wrong. I don't think that this year. But like, let's name all the teams that have beaten the Leafs in the last however many handful of years. It's freaking the Boston Bruins, who made it to the Cup. It is the Washington Capitals. They made it to the Cup. They never lost to Pittsburgh.
They got
The
swept last year.
Montreal, they made it to the Cup.
Yeah, but on paper, Montreal wasn't slightly better. They played slightly better, but they weren't like a slightly better team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
but
Leafs were way better.
No, the Leafs are way better than Montreal.
Right,
Even
that's what
last
I'm
year.
saying.
Yeah,
That's
and they
what I'm saying.
still lost.
Montreal beat Vegas. Yeah. Montreal was on a heater. They were on a heater. Suzuki was better than McDavid in the playoffs last year.
But it's a series you're supposed to win.
Oh, 100%. I'm not forgiving the Leafs for losing to Montreal. All I'm saying is that last year, Montreal, it's almost like they had God on their side or something. They beat the Leafs in 7. That was their hardest series, basically, except for losing the Cup to Tampa. Then they smoked the Winnipeg Jets in the second round. And then they really kind of they lose in 6 to Vegas? I mean, they were in that series. They had a better goalie than every team they played. I think that's an issue for the Leafs. How much do we trust Campbell? He just got Nick his second shutout of the fantasy playoffs last night. I'm really in big trouble now because of that.
I like Campbell. I don't mind Campbell.
I'm not sure he's like the long-term answer. I think
there's worse goalies.
One thing I'll give you guys.
They could be a lot worse.
Yeah, there are. One thing I'll give you guys. The top players on Toronto, and I think there's more top players than you guys give them credit for. Timothy Liljegren will be top 10 in Calder voting, the defenseman. In my opinion, I think Bunting is going to win the Calder Trophy, the rookie on Toronto. Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, Riley. I'm naming a bunch of good players here. And Nylander and Marner are as good as they've ever been. It's not the same. The only player that's gotten worse since the Bruins last played the Leafs in the playoffs is Tavares. Nylander, Marner, and Matthews have all gotten worse. Tavares is still very.
What is he making? The second most too on that team?
I believe it is the most.
Or does Matthews.
Or is Matthews 11.5?
11.6.
And Tavares is just flat 11?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Tavares, he's not having a bad year.
Just crazy numbers.
Yeah. He's not having a bad year. He's just... Would you call him the second best forward on Toronto? I still probably would. I would take Tavares over Marner right now for this playoff run. And then Nylander, I think Nylander is, safely in 4th place. But Andrew Vaughn, deep to left field. The White Sox are winning 6-3. Andrew Vaughn does it again. Sorry, I couldn't contain it. I'm watching that, and I just had to shout it. Andrew Vaughn is probably the best hitter on the White Sox right now. Take a future on him leading the White Sox in home runs. Take a future MVP on him. He's outstanding. Wow. That was huge. That was much needed. What were we talking about? The Leafs?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know. Sorry about that. The Leafs, I believe in them the most on this podcast. I think that's fair to say.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's fair to say on almost any internet podcast. Besides, stupid
Did you watch Matthews' 60th? Either of you?
Yes, I did.
Something feels different about that team. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry.
It's just because it's the regular season.
It is. It's
such a season like this, Frank.
I've watched them play.
This is the best Leafs team in your lifetime. This is the best Leafs team in Steve Dangle's lifetime. This is the best Leafs team in your dad's lifetime.
There's been games this year that I've watched them and they're pissed.
Every team is pissed.
I get that.
Florida got killed by the Devils 6-2.
I get that. But I don't know what you mean by
pissed all the time.
But I don't know what you mean by everything is different, or this team is different. Something's different.
Dude, when was the last time? Austin Matthews is the greatest player in Toronto Maple Leafs history.
I agree with that.
Boom.
Granted, I didn't watch.
Potvin, Matt Sundin.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to judge players I didn't see.
Cujo? Well, I'll judge them for you. Matthews is the best player in Toronto Maple Leafs history. I mean, he's otherworldly. I agree with Frankie. Their success rides on him in the playoffs. I think Bunting, Nylander, Marner, Riley, those guys will have really good playoffs.
If they got swept, what would you do?
Huh?
If they got swept, what would your opinion be on them?
The Lightning were slightly better. Watch, the Lightning are going to go to the Cup.
If you're saying this,
I wouldn't say that if they got swept. I wouldn't say that.
If you're saying that this is the best Leafs team that we've ever seen in all of our lifetimes, and they ended up getting swept, I feel like you put yourself in this boat that like next year you can't come out and like say anything different about them. Like you're too deep.
Zero excuses.
Even if they lose
in six, they have to win this first round. They have to.
Because is next year's team going to be better than this year's team?
They have to, and Vinny knows it because he will sit here and argue with me till he's blue in the face that they are a far and away better team right now than the Tampa Bay Lightning are right now.
They are.
And he will.
They are.
So he has zero excuse if they don't take care of the Tampa Bay Lightning. My only concern is that the Tampa Bay Lightning are not going to be able to contain Austin Matthews as much as like the Florida Panthers might or the Boston Bruins might. That's my only concern.
The Panthers have a player that they can throw out there and say, hey, Mr. Barkov, we know you had 90 points. We know you're one of the very best players in the National Hockey League. You don't have to score a single point this series. Just go shut down Austin Matthews. If Austin Matthews gets 2 points or less, you did your job.
Or even like a guy like a defenseman like Radko Gudas. That dude just gets in your face.
Yeah, I agree. Wait till my theory's proven right next week when Ekblad plays his first game in a month.
Okay, and even then, yeah. But I mean,
I'm not saying I love the Leafs matchup against the Panthers. I probably would pick the Leafs against every team in the Eastern Conference except the Panthers. I'm putting my faith in them right now. Next year, if they don't win a playoff series this year, and like they get smoked, if they lose, the only thing I disagree with you on, if they lose in Game 7 overtime, because like Nikita Kucherov made like a sick play, him and Victor Hedman connected on something.
According to you, they shouldn't even get to that predicament where the Lightning have that opportunity in Game 7 overtime. Okay, I agree. So you can't use that as an excuse even.
But they shouldn't. But I recognize that the Lightning are the defending 2-time Stanley Cup champions that have Hall of Famers at multiple positions. They have a Hall of Fame centerman. They have a Hall of Fame winger. They have a Hall of Fame defenseman. And they have a Hall of Fame goalie. What teams in the NHL can say that right now? The Bruins can't. The Leafs can't. The Penguins even can't. No team in the NHL can say that they... Now, I think Sergei Bobrovsky has an outside chance at the Hall of Fame. And I think Barkov, Huberdeau, and Ekblad could eventually assert themselves into that conversation. But if the world or if the National Hockey League disbanded tomorrow, the Lightning are the only team in the NHL with 4 Hall of Famers, 1 at wing, center, defense, goalie. They're the only team in the NHL. The Hawks used to. Well,
I would argue
argue with me on Corey Crawford. I would vote for him. But he certainly probably wouldn't be first ballot because of all the debates that come with Corey Crawford. I personally would vote for him. I think he has the resume of a Hall of Famer, but some people don't.
And I would be arguing with you had Tuukka Rask not retired. I'd be arguing that the Bruins are in that category.
Defenseman, where if their career ended today.
You're saying if their career ended today.
The Lightning are the only team.
I think it takes a catastrophic injury to take Charlie McAvoy on the path he's on right now.
I agree. Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, but yeah, I guess right now, yeah,
they're the only team.
Would Hedman make it right now?
Yes, dude. He's probably the biggest lock of the 4. He's probably the biggest lock of the 4.
I don't know. I guess I
2
forget how
Norris
old he is.
trophies, a
I
Stanley
know. I
Cup,
forget
all
how
the points. Yeah.
weird you think of these guys, and they've been around.
Victor Hedman's probably what? In his 9th year?
Yeah.
No, probably 8th, 7th or 8th. Stamkos just played in his 9th. The only reason I know that is because Joe Biden called him an old man when they visited the White House 2 days ago.
Yeah, I saw the White House stuff. Was Kucherov even there? I didn't see any pictures of Kucherov, and I thought that would be like kind of awkward. So I was wondering.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't think he was there.
He was probably Vasilevsky had to have been there.
I don't think they were there. I was looking at them. Ryan McDonough was the one at the podium. Like they grabbed an American guy. I don't know. That's got to be awkward, dude. You just cut off literally all like association with your country.
Yeah, that's. I feel bad for those guys. Some people probably don't. I don't want to get into anything really to like debate like on that spectrum, but I feel bad for those guys because they didn't do anything wrong. They play hockey in North America for a living. They live here. I'm sure some of them go back to their homeland for the summers a little bit, but it can't be long. Nico Heischer's in Switzerland for like a grand total of a month, I think.
Some players don't even go, especially younger guys. They'll train with equipment guys or not equipment, but like personal trainers that are naturally from where the city that they play in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the Austin Matthews talk, guys. We've reached the end of the second period, but we will always end it the way I like to end it. What is your favorite story going on in the hockey world right now? I love doing this because I think we've brought out some really cool stuff, that maybe we wouldn't just talk about in general. Like your favorite story that we haven't talked about yet. Frank, we'll start with you.
I'm excited for this one. I've been waiting for this the whole podcast. My favorite story of the week is that Lucas Reichel has become the greatest rookie scorer in Ice Hogs history. He officially took the record from Vinnie Hinostroza, which Vinnie Hinostroza had 51 points during the 2015-2016 season. Lucas Reichel got his 52nd and 53rd points of the year against the Iowa Wild this past Sunday. And I'm happy for him. He is now the greatest rookie point scorer in Ice Hogs history. I'm excited to have him in the farm system. I'm excited to see what he brings in the future. And I'm just excited for his overall success because I really like the kid so far.
That's really cool. I actually, that news escaped me. I actually might write an article on that for DeWindyCity.com, and Frankie Mueller will 1,000,000% be the reason why I did that. I appreciate that. I did not realize that. Joseph, part of me thinks you just realized your favorite hockey. No, I'm just kidding.
I just kind of went over some stuff that's kind of happened the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
And there's one that just stands out to me. We've talked about this team a lot. We've talked about this player. It's kind of new that he announced it, but this is the last time that we will talk on this show about Ryan Getzlaf as a player in the National Hockey League, because his season is over after Friday. And there's been some really cool things this week, kind of sending him off the right way, as every great captain should. A Hall of Fame case. What's up?
Is he playing in the last 2 games?
He is. His last game ever in Anaheim was last Sunday.
Is that why they acted like he was done? Because I just was curious.
Yes, he is done. They played a home game against St. Louis. That was the last time he'll ever play in front of those fans. They played on the road yesterday. They have that away game in Dallas on Friday. So he's done playing in Anaheim. He'll never play there again. He retired. So he says, players come back. Players come out of retirement. Don't come retirement. Whatever. He's retired from the NHL as of Friday after that game against Dallas. And the way, they lost in that game to St. Louis. But he kind of ended his career with one more amazing pass. I don't know if you guys saw it. Literally a spinorama behind the back pass over, and like the way that they celebrated, even though they were losing 6-3 in the game, was like it was Ryan Getzlaf, 1,000 point. It was just a perfect send off for a guy who's been known as such a dominant playmaker, captain to a franchise, Stanley Cup champion, arguably a Hall of Fame player. Even some bitter, bloody playoff series with the Los Angeles Kings back when 2000 13, 14, whatever years it was when we first started watching, the prime of our hockey love developing. The Kings made their final visit to Anaheim just last week, and then the Ducks. It was a home at home situation for the Ducks, where the Ducks then went over to LA. The whole Los Angeles Kings bench, and this is some young guys who didn't even play, and some veterans like Kopitar, Jonathan Quick. They pretty much, you would have thought a playoff series just ended handshakes. Congratulations on a career. And that's just, it's rare that you see that. We haven't seen it in a while, and Ryan Getzlaf just deserves it. So that's my story of the week, is just the send off to a great pillar of, a hockey captain and leader that I grew up watching, and that, it's time for the new generation to take way. So Ryan Getzlaf, that's my story.
You guys had each probably better stories than me this week. And I'm not just saying that because I do like my story a lot. I just didn't know the one Frankie said, and I loved hearing Joey's words on Ryan Getzlaf. Ryan Getzlaf means a lot to me. Those Ducks series, and
he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys. Like, without him, like yeah, there's probably someone else, but like when we first started getting into hockey, we got in around the same time, early 2010s, as many people did our age. Ryan Getzlaf, those Anaheim Ducks series, Ducks Hawks was a big thing. Ducks Kings, we loved the Ducks. Corey Perry. The last time, I don't know if you saw, the last time that Corey Perry played against them, there was a huge thing with the Lightning and the Ducks, and like it was very emotional. And the Ducks are posting all this old footage of Ryan Getzlaf. Like, he's just one of those guys where it's like it's surreal that he's not going to be in the league. At least for me. I've always been a big Ryan Getzlaf and Ducks guy. So
hey, I couldn't agree more. Part of getting kids, I mean, how old were we? 17 and 15 when we really started getting into hockey. You need stars to do that. And Ryan Getzlaf was a top 10 player in the NHL when I was a sophomore in high school. That is just a fact. And he comes from the same draft that Zach Parise came from. It's the greatest draft of all time. I told Frankie last week when you were away, that will be one of our off-season filler topics. We're going to go over the 2003 NHL draft and talk about its greatness and how it impacts the league even today. Because I think that draft will impact the league for a long time, because even guys trade trees and, stuff like that, line mates those guys have helped out, have really impacted the league for a long time. So shout out you, Getzlaf. You helped make hockey fans and all of us. Yeah, Frank, you're in that same boat too. You're a year younger than Joey. Like Getzlaf, when you started getting into hockey, and I know you got into hockey. Huh?
He made the Ducks really entertaining to watch. They were a lot of fun to watch, and I'm gonna miss him. He's a great player.
There was a difference a while ago. I don't know if we can really say that anymore. Some people might think so. But there used to be a difference between Eastern Conference hockey and Western Conference hockey. And part of what made Western Conference hockey was having a big physical top line centerman. We're talking Taves, Getzlaf, Kessler, Kopitar, Ben. In the Eastern Conference, it was a lot of finesse. Or Backstrom down the middle, where there was a lot of finesse. Backstrom, Crosby, Elias, Henrique, all the guys that were at the top of the league at that point in time. Am I forgetting anybody? And the Bergeron, Krejci, it was just a little bit different of a feel between the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference back then. It might still exist today, but I think there's a little more finesse in the Eastern Conference now too. The Minnesota Wild are led by Kirill Kaprizov and McDavid's on Edmonton, and Draisaitl. Draisaitl probably kind of fits actually that old school West centerman type of power forward. But my story of the week, I'm not just doing it because it's the Maple Leafs. I would be talking about this no matter who signed him. But the Toronto Maple Leafs did win the Dryden McKay sweepstakes. It was the team that would land the Hobey Baker winning goalie. Most of the time, a Hobey Baker winner, it's kind of like the Hart Trophy. It goes to a forward more often than not, and you have to be an insane goalie to win it. Well, Minnesota State's goalie Dryden McKay won the Hobey Baker, and the Leafs got him. And they're hoping that he could be that guy that is a long-term goalie prospect that they developed, and they got lucky and were able to sign him. So it's really nice. I hope he has success with the Maple Leafs. I love college sports a lot. And this is one of those things, Joe, where you kind of like put your hatred for an NHL team aside.
I was just gonna say, poor kid.
Yeah, like no, you put your NHL hatred aside for stuff like that. Like a guy's gonna reach his dream in the NHL, and all 32 teams are created equally in terms of making dreams come true. And it's the same thing when like if an NIU guy were to get drafted by the Packers, right? Like no matter what, when an NIU guy gets drafted, I'm all in on the guy. But if he's playing for the Packers or the Vikings or Dallas, probably my I would say my three least favorite teams in football are the Packers, Lions, and Cowboys. If they played for those three teams, then I would for sure still root for them. It was like
you would never want him to beat like the Bears in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, Kenny Galladay played for the Lions. He was their best receiver for 4 years. And that was tough, but I'm rooting on Galladay, whether people like it or not. So it's similar with college hockey. I don't have an affiliation with college hockey, like one specific team. I like when everybody has success. So that's that. Dryden McKay, Toronto Maple Leafs future goalie. I don't know if he'll play with them next year, but maybe. I'm sure he'll at least make his NHL debut, but it's a 2-year contract, so it's however they decide to burn it. Yeah, those were some outstanding stories. We are going to close the show in period. Not really close it. We're going to get to the end of the show in period number 3. Welcome to period number 3, where we're going to talk about just random shit, whatever you want to talk about. Joe, if you got something that's not written down that you want to talk about in this period, Frank.
Let's talk about barbecue sauce.
I'll talk about
Dude. Barbecue sauce. There we go.
You know what's crazy about barbecue sauce? Spicy food is my favorite by far. Like I love spicy food. I'm the idiot that when I went to Hattie B's, I tried Shut the Cluck Up. Like I love spicy food.
I thought we were talking about barbecue sauce.
Well if
Frankie gets 180-degree day since the past show, and he's like, "Let's fire up the barbecue."
No, dude, let me finish my sentence for once in your life, Frank, and then you'll see.
Okay.
I'm saying that I like all this hot stuff, right? But barbecue sauce is not spicy. Almost never. There are spicy barbecues out there, of course. But there was a benches clearing brawl in the Cardinals versus Mets game today in the bottom of the 8th inning. Holy shnikes, they're fighting. That's awesome. I love watching the bullpens run out too. Like by the time they get there, it's all broken up and they ran out there for nothing anyway. But barbecue sauce is like really becoming an S tier sauce for me, even though almost all my favorite sauces are orange or red of some sort because I like spicy. Barbecue sauce, man. It's been really enjoyed by me lately. So shout out barbecue sauce. I'll talk about barbecue sauce whenever you want. Time Out, my favorite place in the world, for those of you who are watching, my favorite place in the world is Time Out West Sports Pub. It's in Hanover Park, Illinois. Is it Hanover Park or Roselle?
I believe that's considered Hanover Park.
It's Hanover Park, Illinois. And they have my number one favorite wings in the world, the spicy wings. But they have a really good barbecue wing, too. It is an outstanding barbecue wing that I hardly ever order because I love the hot one so much. But I think next time I go to Time Out, I'm going to do a little 50-50 split. So, Frank, you want to talk barbecue sauce? You bring on the barbecue conversation anytime you want, pal.
Oh, I won't deny that. Actually, really quick, we went out to dinner yesterday to grab some pizza, and we sat down. It's called, oh my God, Bill's Pizza. And, I'm the type of guy, no matter where you go, whatever we're ordering, I need my sauces. I'm a sauce guy. I need my honey mustard, I need my barbecue, and I need my ketchup, right? They brought me a little like a little cup, and it was Sweet Baby Ray's, and I was like, oh, all right. I think Sweet Baby Ray's have some of the best barbecue of all time.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah.
It had like a little lid, or not a little, like a little pool table. Like, oh, Sweet Baby Ray's, just like I'm at home. So I don't know.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's funny.
You know what barbecue sauce I don't like anymore, but I loved it when I was younger? Open pit.
Open pit stinks.
When I was younger, I could have taken a bottle of open pit, and I kid you not, people who know me know I could do this with sauces I like. I would have been able to open an open pit bottle and chug it. I loved it.
I like
now. I think it stinks. I don't think it stinks. I would eat it.
got too much of a spice and smoke
There's
to
not
it. I don't
many.
know.
There's not many barbecue sauces I don't like. One I really don't like is A1 steak sauce. I think it's overrated.
It's not
Everybody's.
barbecue sauce.
Yeah, I don't consider that
Oh
barbecue.
yeah, it's not barbecue. I guess. Yeah.
Steak
I
sauce
like
is its own.
I
You
like
threw
steak
me
sauce.
off because back in the day when we used to make steaks, we'd have open pit and A1. I just got the two mixed up in my head. Yeah, it's not a barbecue. Never mind.
I'm
like
not a fan of steak
A1.
sauce.
I do like it.
I
Disregard
feel like
everything I said.
I love steak. I love steak, and I feel like I'm one of those assholes where if the steak is good, you don't need to dip it in anything.
I
So
don't dip my steaks in like
yeah,
sauces, like
you know, like
barbecue or honey mustard.
maybe
or
a
anything
maybe
like
a
that.
little butter with a steak to complement. I don't know, but I
At
don't know.
least
I don't
when
like.
I'm out at a restaurant, I should say. If I'm at home, then I might dabble with whatever we got. But
Yeah, I like
if I'm out at a steak restaurant, I'll be like, let me get a side of a barbecue. No, I don't do that.
yeah.
I don't even get steak sauce though. I just if it's seasoned the right way, you don't need anything.
I have a question for Frank. I don't know if you wanted to get into like other stuff, non-sports related, like visually watching. I don't know if you wanted to save that for later, or what? Or can I ask Frankie now?
It is
Then
on the sheet. If
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why
No,
I'm
go
asking.
for it. Go for it.
No
we're probably gonna
spoilers.
talk about it later anyway. But
Yeah, but there's something I just want to ask you right now because it's very fresh in my mind. I literally just watched
Get on with it.
episode 4 of Moon Knight last night,
uh-huh.
and let me tell you, I thought I was high at the end of it. It was like,
was-
what the
it
fuck
was
is
wacky.
going on? It was one of those
probably
moments.
It was the most confusing episode.
Might be the most confusing Marvel thing I've ever
Yeah.
seen, where you're just watching it and you're like, did the channel change? What's going on? That was literally my thought.
You're
and I
saying
was
towards the end.
that last like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
last 10
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah, it's like
I was literally like, I thought something was different. I go, did you press a button? I was
yeah.
like,
What happened? Are we still watching Moon Knight? Like, I am so excited to watch episode 5.
and Joe,
So excited just for clarity for
you
myself. I
weren't
can't
here.
sleep.
You weren't here earlier, but the first thing Scott said in chat was episode 5 is incredible.
Was it?
And
Yeah.
and out of the clear blue during this podcast, I got a text from Dylan. We never text about Moon Knight. He texted me episode 5 is.
Are you serious?
And he's never sent me a text about Moon Knight before. So just out of the clear blue, he says Moon Knight episode 5 is insane. I'm really excited for this episode.
My text must have got lost in transition. I'm a little butthurt. I'm not gonna lie, but I digress. You and one other person texted me. I believe you texted me after episode 4. We talked about it in person.
Well, not episode 4 because you just watched episode 4.
Yeah, but we were talking about it in person, saying like you mentioned something about it.
Yeah, I
with
told you it
obviously
was fantastic.
with no spoilers. Or
Yeah.
I believe after you watched episode 4, I think you texted me saying, I don't think there's ever going to be an episode of Moon Knight I don't like.
Yeah,
Or something like that.
it was. Yeah.
And then another person texted me after they watched episode 4 saying, just when I think I have everything figured out. So it's like, now I watch episode 4 and I get it. So it's like, okay, where are we going from here? I'm very excited. Skox, if you're still here, Frankie and I will be giving our episode 5 review next week. So we're super excited. I love this show.
Joe, right now, Vinny feels like you feel when we talk about college football.
Oh yeah, look, he's got that. He's just waiting for the topic to change because he's a stupid poop head who hasn't started Moon Knight. And that's me being nice.
By the way, one more thing. I know Vinny wants to get on here, but next week's show, we're gonna have a lot to talk about Marvel related because next Thursday, Doctor Strange comes out. So you best believe I'll have a lot of things to say next week about Marvel. But anyway,
Marvel third period in anticipation of Doctor Strange,
which I need my ticket like ASAP. I got to go get one.
Yeah, we're gonna do something about that. Because you're right, May 6th is coming up. May 6th is the Friday, so we're gonna go see it May 5th. Cinco de Mayo, how you doing? Some tacos beforehand, you never know. Very excited for that. And then Kenobi, I don't know if you guys saw, Kenobi got pushed back a couple days. It's now, which I'm okay with because there's a kicker. There's a kicker that I accepted with open arms. Instead of it being on whatever day it was supposed to be, I believe it's now the Friday. I think it was supposed to be a Wednesday. Now it's a couple days later on the Friday, but we're getting episode 1 and 2 on one release.
I like that.
So do I.
I'm a
and
fan of that.
Same. Bad Batch season 2 got confirmed. I don't know if that was already confirmed, but I literally saw a promo for it. So some cool Star Wars and Marvel stuff coming up here.
Hell yeah. We could touch on that a little bit more in a couple minutes, but there was one thing I wanted to talk, or two things that I wanted to talk about in the third period. I don't know if you guys were able to do any research or anything about that, but we're going to talk about one prospect a week starting now, leading up to the NHL draft. And I know the playoffs haven't even started yet, but if we want to cover the top 10 picks-ish, because 2 of the 3 of us could be drafting one of them for sure. My team is. But it's good to know these players before they come in. Half of these guys will be on your fantasy hockey rosters soon enough. So I think it's a little important to touch on this and get the viewers interested in the draft as it approaches. I know we got people watching the fandoms of all over the league, so I'm interested to see how this progresses. But we're going to start with the obvious one to kind of dip our toes into what's going on here. And the almost unanimous number 1 overall pick for this year's NHL draft is Shane Wright. And he, in all likelihood, will be the first overall pick by whoever wins the lottery. That is taking place on May 10th. So I'm curious to know what you guys think of this guy so far. Not anything to do with the teams yet. Hold that off. But your overall thoughts of the prospect. Frank, I will start with you.
Well, we got the 18-year-old Shane Wright, plays for the OHL Kingston Frontenac.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
He's played 63 games with them, 32 goals, 62 assists for 94 points. He is an explosive two-way center, right? And I think that's what makes him so good and why people so want him is because he is so explosive. That's like one of his biggest traits is he's always out there and he gives that pop in every hockey game that he plays in. Interestingly enough, I didn't know this. I thought this was pretty cool. But Shane Wright had a better point per game average at 1.14 over Connor McDavid 1.05 in both the rookie years in the OHL. I thought that was pretty spectacular.
There you go. Joe?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. Where does Bedard fit in?
Bedard will be the number 1 overall pick next year, unless Michkov passes him, which is possible.
Okay, so Shane Wright's this year. Those 2 guys that we talked about a couple episodes ago were
we're not going
to
talk about Michkov or Bedard until after the draft this year. Well, we'll start talking about them.
Which is scary. Which is scary because Bedard, I believe, is in the same league. Doesn't he play in the OHL as well as Shane Wright?
Mm-hmm.
And some of his comparable numbers to Connor McDavid are very scary.
I think Bedard is better than Wright, and that's saying something.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at because it's not too often that you got this elite prospect in Shane Wright coming up, going to be drafted number 1 overall, to who knows where, and all I keep seeing about is the guy that's not even in the draft class, out talking or in the overshadowing him. And that could be the case when you have an example of who went in the draft the year before Austin Matthews.
McDavid.
Who went before that?
Ekblad.
Was that was the Aaron Ekblad year? Jeez, we're getting old. We were in high school. Okay. So when when we were getting ready for Aaron Ekblad's draft, you were hearing about Connor McDavid still, and you still had to wait a year. So it's not so often that that's the case, but it seems like that's the case. And it's not so often that that's the case with someone who's going to be as good as Shane Wright. Not no disrespect to Aaron Ekblad, but Aaron Ekblad isn't, necessarily the, once in a lifetime generational talent that you got in Connor McDavid. Hopefully that we see in Shane Wright and Bedard and Austin Matthews. So it's very, and Jack Hughes. Yeah, we'll see. It's not often that, the guy who's the next year is overshadowing him because Shane Wright is going to be, hopefully, you don't want to jinx these guys, but is going to be that future 100-point guy in the NHL competing with McDavid and Austin Matthews and Jack Hughes and Nathan McKinnon. But, then you got Bedard the next year. So I've heard and learned more about Bedard than I have Shane Wright. And that's scary because Shane Wright is going to be fucking awesome. So
Shane Wright does have exceptional status from Hockey Canada, which is very rare. 1 out of every 5 drafts, there's a guy coming out with exceptional status, but they did give it to Bedard as well.
Yeah,
and they denied Jack Hughes.
How old is Bedard? We learned
probably 16 or 17.
16 or 17, geez.
Depending on his birthday, but he'll be 18 by the time the 2023-24 season starts.
Can you imagine if the Devils or something ended up with one of these guys?
I don't think the Devils timeline matches with Bedard. The Hawks does. I think the Hawks are going to be brutal next year. Brutal. And they have their first round pick. I think Bedard is an option for the Hawks unless they win the lottery this year and get right. Then Columbus has a chance to get Bedard from the Hawks, which would just be a major kick in the balls. I can't believe.
I don't think getting Wright or Bedard is a kick in the balls to any situation because you're not going to get both.
It is.
No, because you can't guarantee you'll win the Bedard one. If you win this one, take what you want and run.
I get that, but we'll see.
And you never know. But Wright could end up being far and away better than Bedard. You don't know when they get to the NHL.
McDavid level. And Matthews, and you have preference.
Look at how quickly Nico Hischier passed up, Nolan Patrick. Nolan Patrick who? Look how quick. It was Nolan Patrick almost all summer long.
To the 2 years leading up to his draft, they started to talk about Nolan Patrick like he was McDavid.
Exactly, and then all of a sudden, Nico has that juniors tournament or whatever it was.
It was the World Juniors tournament, and then the Halifax Mooseheads were a bad team, and they made the playoffs because Hischier had 50 more points than all of his teammates.
Yeah, so you never know. So don't count your eggs before they hatch, and if you're going to win Shane Wright this year, that's what I would be hoping for because your hoping isn't going to change the outcome. So hope you get Shane Wright.
There you go. And make sure you keep tuning in to Bar Down Talking Hockey every week to learn about a new draft prospect. The Shane Wright conversation was very vanilla because of the fact that we've talked about him 1,000 times on this show before. Next week, we'll really come to play with some stats and information on whoever we choose because of the fact that they're definitely less known than Shane Wright. If you like hockey to some extent, you've heard of Shane Wright by now. Every player forward, you have to kind of be like a diehard to know who they are. I know who we're going to do in order. And I believe next week we're talking about the guy with the funniest last name in the draft, and that's Logan Cooley. So I'm excited to talk about some Cooley next week.
But we're going to have a lot of current stuff, too, to talk about. And 2 full days of playoff hockey that'll be kicked off. We're going to break down every series. So.
Yeah, and we'll hand out our winners on social media. So make sure you're following at the King Bean, at Joey Parise, at Vinnie Parise. We'll throw out our picks on social media, of course. I think I can get Joey and Frankie to do that.
Well, we can share. We'll go over. We can go over playoff brackets too, if you want, because I will be putting together a playoff bracket thing this week.
Yes, and send a message
will be live.
Joey Parise on Twitter if you want to join our playoff bracket. The Bar Down Talking Hockey playoff bracket is live to anybody who wants to join. We'll have family members in it, friends. Mm-hmm. You want to come compete with us? Send Joey a message on Twitter.
Yeah, I've already decided it'll be a $20 entry fee, and it'll be winner take as much as we get minus second place. We'll get $40. So second place will be doubling their money, and then however many people we get, first place gets all that. I'm not up in second place. That's not the way I do things. You don't get awarded for third place. Not the way I do things. So second place, double your money. For however many people we get, winner takes all that. So
there you go. It's going to be fun. So, and we'll give out our picks when they lock, and then we'll talk about them on our show.
Yeah, and they will lock probably by 6 p.m. on May 2nd, Monday. The playoffs start on a Monday this year. So
don't the Kraken play the Jets
Sunday night?
It's Sunday night that they do?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know that's like the made up game from the snow last week.
Mm-hmm. So but you'll be able to make your playoff bracket probably before that because that game is irrelevant.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know how they'll unlock the bracket, but You can create the league now, and I'm going to do that this week. We're still only at Wednesday. And then we'll have everyone in the league by this weekend. So looking forward to it. I plan on getting at least 25 people. 20 people, 25 people. So you figure there's a good chunk right there, $400. We're looking at a winner. So
rank the 3 teams that you would like to see win the lottery the most, just based on pure bias. Joe, you first.
It would be cool if the Devils won it. Having a 3-headed monster in Heishier, Hughes, and Wright would be amongst the best in the league. I'll go ahead and say the Blackhawks because they don't. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm the biggest Hawks fan, but having a hometown hockey team is something I'll always cherish, and I love going to Hawks games. I have some of the most fun. I have some of the most enjoyable hockey memories involved with the Chicago Blackhawks, and being able to see that type of talent in my backyard is something I have been very fortunate to have my whole hockey life. And Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane. So a generational player like that would be good, especially to see a rebuild start. It's not my fault that they beat the Bruins in 2013. I didn't choose that. It's just the way that things happen. And then from another bias point, I don't know, it would be a long shot because I don't know where their odds rank, but the Anaheim Ducks. I'm a Ducks guy. I love the Ducks, always have. I think it would be perfect with Ryan Getzlaf going out, getting a new generational player to complement the Trevor Zegras, the Troy Terry that they already got. So,
Frank?
I didn't know we were ranking them biasly. I had like things in mind, but all right.
Didn't he say bias? Didn't he say biasly?
He did now, but I didn't. Was it on the sheet at biasly? Or?
That's why you don't read the sheet.
I went logical.
Rank 3 teams you'd like to see him go to.
Yeah, I went logically. Like that, I'd logically like to see him go.
That's fine if that's the way you see it.
I had the Philadelphia Flyers as one of them just because they lost Giroux. They lost their center. Got this explosive center coming in. I think the Philadelphia Flyers could take anything they could get right now, and I think that he would help out the organization in a big way. But obviously, biasly, I wouldn't care if he went there. But that's one of the teams. I think going to the Seattle Kraken would be pretty cool. The newest expansion team. Mm-hmm. Just having him there and being that explosive energy that he brings, I think it'd be good for the Seattle Kraken franchise. I think it would sell more tickets for them. Overall, I have nothing wrong against the Kraken. I personally like the Kraken. I have nothing against them. Like I said, I think it'd be cool to see him in that blue uniform. And absolutely, I'd like to see him on the Blackhawks. Next year's never guaranteed. You never know what you're going to get. And if I could get a talent like Shane Wright, who has exceptional status on my hockey team, then yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take it. So those would be my 3.
Very good. For me, it would be the Devils because I like the Devils. I would choose the Blackhawks because even though I would rather have Bedard, like Frankie said, what if they're randomly good next year? Or what if they're like the Blue Jackets and they just like come together as a team and despite not having the most talented roster, put together a pretty good season. And then my third pick, you guys might think I'm crazy.
I hope you don't say what, because there's a team that I want to just shit on if they get him.
I think it would be awesome if he went to the Detroit Red Wings.
Oh, okay.
If he went
to Joey's
Detroit Red Wings, well, it's probably Montreal.
No.
Can I say Vegas?
It's probably Vegas.
No.
No?
That would suck. That would be
Arizona?
Arizona
Yeah.
doesn't deserve him.
No.
I don't want to see this player go play in a college arena for you. I want Arizona to be so bad that they are forced to relocate because it's embarrassing. It's a waste of the 32nd team in the NHL that the Arizona Coyotes exist. It's just a waste of everything.
I think they make the rest of the league look Bush League. Like the NFL, MLB, and I don't care what anybody says. I don't care who you hate or what your affiliation with anything is. No team in the NFL, NBA, or MLB have a team like the Arizona Coyotes that are an embarrassment to the rest of the league. None.
And getting a player like Shane Wright would help their case, which would slow down the process of them getting the fuck out of there.
Yeah, you're right. No, I was going to say the Detroit Red Wings, I think they're a wagon ready to rock. This year they had a good year. They were the exact team I thought they'd be. They weren't one of the worst teams in the league. They were at the playoff bubble through about the new calendar year, and then they started to fall off a little bit when the season gets hard in January and February. Right now, they're 31, 40, and 10. They have 10 more points than my favorite team, the New Jersey Devils. Like, they were a good team this year. They made things hard for good teams early and even sometimes late.
They handled Boston. Handled them.
Yeah. And Moritz Seider, he's right there with Bunting for the Calder Trophy. I think those two will for sure be nominated. He's one of the best scoring defensemen already. And he's only going to get better, and his defensive play is going to get way better, even though it's not bad right now. And I think a core of Seider, Raymond, Wright, Zadina, I think all these guys are going to put together some really good Red Wings teams, and I want to see the Red Wings back in the playoffs. So just from a pure buy, I've always liked the Red Wings. They're a team that I like. They're not my favorite team. The Devils are my favorite team. But the Red Wings are in that mix with the Penguins, the Blackhawks, the Bruins, the Leafs, the teams that I just kind of like. And I've been to the Wings game twice. I went to one at Little Caesars Arena, and I went to one at the Joe Louis Arena. The Wings are cool, man. Gordie Howe, Lidstrom, the history there is outstanding. So I think it'd be cool if Detroit won it.
Yeah, I like Detroit when they're bad for no other reason than I don't want them to be like another thorn in my side. That division is just going to only get better and better. So that I don't want that to help. But yeah, it would be cool. But, from my point of view, especially Ottawa, Montreal, and Detroit and Buffalo as well. But those teams stay away from him.
Yeah, that's fair. If he went to the Flyers, Frank, I'd cry.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but it's something they need. Logically, it's something they can use.
100%.
And Claude Giroux, I'm so happy for Claude Giroux. He's just been
so good.
Listen, I was thinking about this yesterday, obviously, I get a good look at him. He's just been, how many 15-game losing streaks, it seems, have the Flyers had to endure? And Claude Giroux is just leading that team and just losing season after losing season. Then he goes to Florida, and they are 13-2 since acquiring Claude Giroux. You go from just losing to now you don't know what it's like to lose. Now they're 13-3. Thanks, Boston. But
you talked about Hampus Lindholm as the best trade line deadline acquisition for.
No.
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
Or for
Sweeney.
For Sweeney.
Yeah,
and he might be, but I think you can make the claim that it's the best trade deadline acquisition of any team this season. But I think Giroux's right there.
Giroux is right there. The good thing with Lindholm, it was not only a trade deadline acquisition, it's not a rental because then they go ahead and extend him for 8 years.
Yeah.
That's the good thing there. Who knows where Giroux is going to land or what, Florida needs to win the Stanley Cup right now with some of the moves they've made.
Yeah.
So they don't need to, but it would certainly help with, the amount they've spent. And Giroux, I just was thinking that yesterday, 10-game losing streak for the Flyers. Oh, they win a couple 10-game losing streak. There's a 15-game losing streak in there. And all of a sudden, this guy goes on a 13-game winning streak. It's holy shit. You think he's calling his buddies back in Philadelphia and be like, guys, this winning thing feels great.
Were you a little happy to see Kevin Hayes score in person?
That was cool. I actually missed the goal. Yeah, I missed it. I was not at my seat for that, but No. I saw the Kevin Hayes goal. I missed the DeBrincat goal. I had to see a replay.
That goal was sick.
The one-timer, yeah.
Oh my God.
I saw the Kevin Hayes one-timer. Because they were similar goals.
Yeah. I love Kevin Hayes. I love the Hayes family. I love Boston. So
yeah.
Shout out to the Hayes family. Jimmy, we miss you. Do either of you have any thoughts on the 2022 NFL draft that starts tomorrow? Joe, I don't know if you have much to say.
I'll let you guys take it away.
I don't know.
I could speak for Joey in saying that we hope the Bears, the Patriots, and the Buccaneers do what they need to do to improve their futures.
Bears don't have a first-round draft pick.
No. Right? Unless they trade up, they will not be selecting tomorrow, thanks to moving up in 2021 to select Justin Fields.
The only thing I noticed about the draft, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't know, the most about the NFL draft, but Trayvon Walker, is he like the consensus to go number one?
I don't know about the consensus. I would.
Is he like a favorite though? You think the Jaguars
are going to?
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I noticed like there's really not a quarterback that should go in the top 20. Maybe, the Saints, or even the Steelers were in talks to getting a quarterback for the future. Malik somebody would be a good option, I guess, for quarterback. Malik. I don't know, but so yeah, I don't know. That's my. I don't know much about it. So
yeah, I'm not high on the quarterbacks. I wouldn't draft a single quarterback. I'd wait for next year or trade for Baker Mayfield or take advantage of the fact that the 49ers are going to be dumb and trade Jimmy Garoppolo. Dumb. 49ers are dumb. They're not going to win shit with Trey Lance for at least 5 years. Dumb. Everybody disagrees with me, but you'll see. You'll see. That's all I'm going to say because I said the same thing last year. You'll see. You can win with Jimmy G. You can.
Jimmy G.
That's my.
I'm not a big Jimmy G guy. I mean, I like him because he's from here. He's from the state of Illinois. So I'm a fan of him. Personally, as a football player, I'm not the biggest fan of him. But I'll root for him for success just because he's a hometown guy. But yeah, as far as like, if you go by football, no, I'm not a big fan of him.
Yep, that's fair. You'll see though how much the 49ers suck once they trade him. I just don't see Trey Lance having the same success. He might be talented. I just do not see the same success coming San Francisco's 40 way if the 49ers trade Jimmy Garoppolo. I just don't. They made it to the NFC Championship in every year that he was healthy.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen with Trey Lance. I just don't see it. Make sure you tune in to draft coverage that is going on the Barroom Network. On tomorrow's Crosstown Crosstalk, I will have a show that is dedicated to baseball, of course, but we will touch on the NFL draft in a little bit more in depth. I'm excited to do it. And then, of course, the draft is tomorrow night, and I encourage everyone to read DeWindyCity.com. We will have the best Bears analysis on the entire draft. I can't wait for the second round. I'm actually more excited for day 2 than day 1 this year because I think I want to see where some of my favorite prospects go later in the draft. Justin Ross, the receiver from Penn State, the receiver from now I'm drawing a blank on what school that guy goes to. Either way, I'm very excited. Pickens is who I was thinking of, Georgia. What are we watching this weekend? Sports and non-sports. Joe, I know you got to get out of here soon, so you're going to Blackhawks Golden Knights.
Yes, I am. I already mentioned Moon Knight. Looking forward to that, and then hopefully I'll catch a few White Sox games where they get back on the winning side of things. Hopefully today's a step in the right direction. I don't know what the scores that game is. They're holding on, but yeah. I'm sure I'll keep up with the playoff basketball, but I don't know. I kind of only watch it when I got a bet in, and I haven't been having any bets in on that.
Yeah. Frank?
I'm going to be watching Hawks Golden Knights. I can't wait for that. 2 of my favorite teams in the NHL are going head to head. NBA playoffs. It's been really exciting. Grizzlies Timberwolves been insane. I watched some Cubs games, Mariners games. Mariners are leading the AL West. They've been on a heater. They are so good this year. Moon Knight. We talked about Moon Knight. That's the new thing. Late night Wednesdays. I'll turn it on tonight for sure. 100%. I can't wait to watch it after all the good reviews it's been getting for episode 5.
Frank, have you seen the Adam Project on Netflix?
I've heard
Ryan
of it.
Reynolds?
I haven't watched it.
Watch it, and then text me after.
Is it a show or
love it? It's just a movie. It's just a movie. It's not in a series or anything. It's Ryan Reynolds. Brief gist of it.
I kind of remember what it was about, but
brief gist of it. Ryan Reynolds. He ends up time traveling back to the year 2022. Right now, he wanted to go to 2018, but he gets stuck in 2022, and he comes across his younger self, and they go on this adventure. It's very, very good. It's a very rewarding conclusion to a movie. got me, very emotional. So I highly recommend it if you're looking for a science fiction, just movie that's kind of takes a break from all the series that we're so invested in. Just a spin-off movie. I thought it was really good.
What's
Maybe
it
I'll
called
add that
again?
to my list.
The Atom Project.
Is that on Netflix?
Just on Netflix. Ryan Reynolds. It's a Netflix film. It's very good.
Maybe I'll add it to the list.
There you go. For me, I don't know. Another busy weekend ahead with sports. It is the end of the National Hockey League season. I will be watching my Devils on Thursday and Friday. The draft is tomorrow. The NFL draft will be heavily invested in that all weekend. I'm going to try my best to knock out some shows. I have some stuff to, catch up on that. Skylar, I did watch Tinder Swindler.
I watched it too.
It is outstanding. Guys,
very, very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. Joey's team Tinder Swindler guy.
I'm not team Tinder Swindler. It's like, how could you be so stupid if you're one of these girls? Not gonna continue.
Joey's not sending 100K to anybody on Tinder anytime soon. Can't confirm.
No.
Really quick, before we get out of here, we are going to send it off to America's favorite podcast segment of the week, Breaking Bets.
Where's my money, bitch?
Guess
Here we are. I would love. How did your picks go? How did your picks go last week?
Honestly, I don't remember. I got to be honest with you.
That means they were bad.
I mean, I could check. They could have been good.
That's the one thing I was missing. That was missing probably from last show was the hat and glasses. So, when I'm here, I provide picks. If picks win, we provide money. I make a living for our listeners. That's essentially what I do.
There you go,
Frank. I got 3 picks that I don't know if you're going to agree with. What I've been riding a lot lately is my shots on goal.
Mm-hmm.
2 of my 3 picks are the over on the shots. Just a little disclaimer: I've been taking the shots on goal in hockey games a lot lately, and it's very situational. And I've learned a lot when taking it because yes, I take it a lot with the Bruins. The Bruins are second in the NHL in shots per game, so there is you could say it's biased, but there's a lot of merit to it, especially if they're on the road. If they're playing against some opponent, I always look not only at the team that I'm betting's most recent games and how many shots they're producing. I look at the team that they're playing against and how many shots they're allowing to the opposition. It's just something I've been looking at, and it's actually been doing pretty well. So it worked out yesterday. You saw the game against Montreal, Frank. The over was set at 38.5, and they finished with 40-something shots. So, I mean, it's been working for the Bruins, but I got 2 games tonight that I honestly think it's going to work. And one of them is your Chicago Blackhawks. It hit on Monday against the Philadelphia Flyers. It was set at 31.5, I believe. They hit that with relative ease. Tonight it's set at 32.5 29.5 against the Vegas Golden Knights. I think they can hit that 30-goal mark against the Vegas Golden Knights easy tonight in Chicago. And I also think it'll result in my second pick, which is the Blackhawks winning. I think the Blackhawks are going to beat the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. They're going to have a very well-played final home game of the season. I think that it's going to be very clear in the United Center. They do a great job of broadcasting scores around the league. And it's going to be very clear that score of the Dallas Stars game against the Arizona Coyotes, both games start at 7:30. So, my brain is working here. I have a feeling that Dallas Stars game is going to, I just see it going off and running. The Dallas Stars are going to go into that game. Let's take care of business. Let's clinch this playoff spot right now against the Arizona Coyotes. The Vegas Golden Knights are going to see that on the bench. I've seen it in the past. Team scoreboard watch. I remember when the Bruins got eliminated from playoff contention and they were playing the Buffalo Sabres, and they literally got eliminated while they were playing the game, and the whole morale on the bench was dead. Similar in Vegas tonight, or in Chicago with the Vegas Golden Knights. The Blackhawks are going to take advantage of that and beat the Vegas Golden Knights, not necessarily because they're going to try to play spoiler. I think the Dallas Stars are going to be off and running over in Dallas and just make it impossible for Vegas to even make the playoffs with a win. It's going to totally kill that bench. So you got the Blackhawks money line, the over on the 29.5 shots. The team that is number one in shots per game, the Los Angeles Kings. Great value on that tonight. Over 32.5 total shots on the Los Angeles Kings as they are playing a road game in Seattle, a team that gives up a lot of shots. So you got the team that scores the most or shoots the most on goal versus a Seattle team who, is prone to giving up goals and shots. Give me the Kings over 32.5.
Frank?
Yeah, I got a little bit more picks than normal, so I'm going to try and make it a little bit quicker. The first one breaks my heart to say this, but the Bucks are minus 12.5, and normally I'd be on the Bulls plus the 12.5, but I think the Bucks either minus 7.5 for the first half at minus 113 or minus 12.5 for the game at minus 110. It's probably good just because the Bulls will be without Alex Caruso tonight and Zach LaVine because they entered health and safety protocols. That kind of sucks. But then, yeah, I mean, with them out, it's going to be a tough climb for the Bulls. I think either of those would be pretty good options if you wanted to throw something on the Bulls game. Nuggets are getting 8.5 against the Warriors. I think the Nuggets are a talented team. Do you think the Warriors may win tonight and are definitely going to win the series? But 8.5, I would love to take the talented Nuggets plus the 8.5 at minus 105. Think there's great value on the Mariners money line. I think the bookies are overpricing how good the Tampa Bay Rays are. I mean, yeah, they're a good team. Don't get me wrong, but the Mariners are really good too. And you could get the Mariners money line at plus 124. And I think they got the better pitcher going. So I'm going to have to go with the Mariners on that one. I wasn't able to find a line on this, but I would take it. It'll probably be in the low ones. It's the Astros and Rangers no run in the first inning. I don't know if that's because it has to be closer to game time till they release something like that, but I like the pitching matchup to where I don't think that these pitchers don't give a lot of hits. It might be a bullpen day. I don't know for one of the teams. I know both pitchers have a whip under 1, and I use that heavily into deciding if I want to do anything in the first inning. So I like no run in the first inning. And my last pick, I'm going to kind of piggyback off of one of the picks that Joey said. I like the Kings money line at minus 159. I think there's value there to beat the Seattle Kraken. They're the better team. All the other games in the NHL today are very overpriced. All the favorites and stuff are overpriced, and there's not a lot of dogs I like tonight in the NHL. So I think the Kings money line at minus 159 on the road against the Seattle Kraken is very reasonable. So those are my picks.
Sorry to interrupt. You're done, right?
Mm-hmm.
You nailed it. It's plus 100 for taking the under 0.5 of runs in inning 1.
In the Astros?
Yeah, plus 100.
Oh my God. I would definitely do that.
It's a coin flip. It's bet even, so I like that.
I would definitely do that.
There you go. That's Breaking Bets. Joey and Frankie have their picks in. Make sure you either follow them if you think they're smart or fade them if you think they're dumb. My answer to that is depending on the week. This week, I think they're kind of smart. That's our show. It was a great show. I was happy to have Joey pop in. I hope you have a blast at Blackhawks versus Golden Knights. That is the last time there will be a professional hockey game in the state of Illinois. No, not a professional hockey game in the state of Illinois.
Yeah, Rockford
just a hockey league game, and the Wolves.
Yeah, well, the Wolves are really good, but Rockford just clinched a couple days ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the 2 minor league teams in town are doing well, which is surprising a little bit. I kind of thought Rockford would blow, but they have Reichel. So they have Reichel, and, their goaltending's okay. So that can help you in the AHL.
Their goaltending's okay at the AHL level.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we've seen some of those guys come up and like, you fucking suck. But they've also had some good games. So it's like, okay, maybe he can play in the AHL.
I would sign up to be Colin Delia. I would live his life. Every now and then. I'm really good in the AHL. Every now and then I get called up to the NHL, and I'm either really good there or I suck ass. There's really not much of an in-between. He has had some good games.
Exactly. And a goalie, when you have a goalie who's had good games in the NHL, like that usually means like, hey, you go to the AHL or pretty much any other league, you're going to be a good goalie. So
yeah. So that's that. Make sure you tune in. We'll have some AHL Calder Cup playoff conversations next week too. I want to get into that. I want to talk about the Utica Comets a lot. I enjoy that. God, I hope if they play the Wolves, I've said it 3 straight shows. If they play the Wolves in the Calder Cup final, you could catch me at the Allstate Arena for at least one of the games. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So go Comets. Make sure you enjoy all the shows on the Barroom Network. I mentioned it once before already. The draft is tomorrow. The NFL draft, that is. Shimon and Stopchinski have done an outstanding job with Draft on Tap. Those guys know what they're talking about. You could catch yesterday's episode of Dan and Aldo Bare Their Souls. They went down and dirty on the draft. I'll be talking about baseball and Crosstown Crosstalk tomorrow. And there will be a pretty big segmented portion on the NFL draft. I'm excited about it. So that's what we got going on here. I'll be back on South Burbs Hitman Monday night. I think our guest had to reschedule, so I think we're not revealing a guest right now. I'm sure there'll be some news that comes out of that. Every morning, Put On Your Socks goes on twitter.com from the South Burbs Hitman and my Twitter accounts, and you can follow me on Twitter at Vinnie Parise. You can follow Joey Parise at Joey Parise, and you can follow Frank Mueller at The King Bean. Somebody didn't get the memo to just make their Twitter account their damn name. Just kidding. I actually love The King Bean. It's clean because you don't have a number or any like letter representation. Like
Frank's like, yep, I know.
You don't have the number 3 for your E, or you don't
merch
have
coming soon.
Yeah, we should make some merch for us, but that's a story for a different day.
I am making King Bean merch. Just you wait, it's in the works.
Hell yeah, I would buy it or ask you for one for free. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, and of course, read all the blogs, fansided.com, dewindycity.com, southsideshowdown.com. I got a piece on the Devils players coming up on putchandpitchforks.com tomorrow. Very excited about that. All Frankie's work on apptrigger.com. And thank you guys for having a really good show. I had fun. Is there anything you want to say before we head out?
Can't wait for Moon Knight.
Yeah, I'm excited. Can't wait for. I don't know when I'm going to watch it. I got a very busy week. I'm, just going to the game today. Tomorrow I got B's final home game, and then Friday, B's final game. So maybe Saturday night I'll have a nice
and
relaxing.
Joe, I'll text you and be like the stuff I've been getting text, like if it really is good.
Yeah, text me. I like our little no spoiler conversation we have.
Yeah, one day I'm just gonna blow your brains out by telling you that I watched it. I'm not even gonna tell you. It's just when I'm done watching it is when you'll know. So that should be kind of fun. I'm excited to watch it. Of course, I love Marvel. So once again, thank you everybody in the chat. Thank you everybody who watched, listened, catch the podcasts, watch all the shows on the Barroom Network, follow all of us on Twitter, and of course, thank you for listening.
Hank.
Well, let me know if you need anything, huh?
I will. Thank you, Carmen.
Damn. Chick's got an ass like an onion. Makes me want to cry.